On his 15th birthday, he rushes to the church as the priest begins the prayer to "Who art in heaven." As they follow the old tradition, the kid keeps kneeling, slips into the prayer, and says, "Our Father," as the priest watches closely because all of this is built to land him a job, so the priest snaps his holy book open, raises it high, and declares the kid is about to step into a brand new journey. He begs for a blessing over the kid who won't open his eyes, just keeps focusing hard and hoping. Praying it holds up just like that. The job change ceremony is finally over, and later on, the kid stumbles out into the field, gasping for air, drenched in sweat. He's gasping like he ran a mile, but then he finally squeezes out the words he's got his target trapped. It's a little monster. He yanks out a dagger, glares it down, and sneers that it's just some lowly slime. Lunging ahead, he roars about how brutal it was to land the catch then drive straight for the kill. The kid hammers his blade down with everything he's got, then the slide. Slime just keeps looping straight through it, like it's unstoppable, completely blindsiding him. He erupts in total shock, roaring that he can't believe he missed. Then the monster strikes. Its stretchy body whips out fast, wrapping everything in sight. A hard body clamp around his arms snapped tight, pinning him in place. He tries to shake it off, but that slime clamps onto his wrist like it's trying to pull him under. He starts falling apart. His eyes whirl with panic as he blurts, "What am I even supposed to do now?" He takes a breath, fighting to pull himself together, telling himself, "Stay calm, breathe." This guy with goggles just bursts into his thoughts, yelling that he's gotta believe in yourself, fight like you own the place. He clenches his weapon like it's an extension of his soul, tells himself he's the only one who can pull this off, so desperation hits him hard. He screams that he's a complete novice. Then he bites straight into the slime's body. It actually works. He hurls the monster into the air, whoops with pure joy, and finally grabs that precious breathing room. Jade finally catches the monster was caught off guard. Then it blurted, loud and proud, that it's got it. The slime gets absolutely wrecked and melts into a gross, messy puddle right on the grass. Jade slumps back to catch his breath. Thrilled he finally landed one, and then he spots a glowing magic stone sat there dead center. He whips the stone into the air, then stops dead. Turns out it's way lighter than he thought. He snaps up the drop, then checks his progress on the spot and shouts, "Stinked." On his status screen, he's still stamped as a total newbie, but for the first time, he finally got that precious skill point. He starts dancing in circles and screams, "Hell yeah," because things are finally. He finally realizes his theory about how the whole system works was dead on, and it hits him. Oh wow. This is the kind of world he's really up against. A few hours back at the manor, and the air still rings with those terrifying voice screams out. Jade's father is completely losing control, grilling her with one desperate question. How did she mess up the ceremony? Jade shoots an apology at him, then blurts out that he'll do the chores, anything at all, to make it right. His dad slams the door on him and barks, "Get out!" shutting down the whole idea. The old man can't wrap his head around it. Jade returned as a novice, and he snaps his name out, calling him. Jade is in full panic mode, begging him to hold upright as the dad snatches him and marches him toward a cliff of disaster. A tiny pouch rockets through the air. Jade snatches it out of midair, looking completely. As his father hands it over like a farewell gift, his mother is breaking down in tears. Jade stands there in the back as his father screams that he's not his son anymore. He orders him to grab the money and never come back to that house again. Jade trudges through the snowy mountains alone, clutching the pouch like it's her lifeline. Stinging his mind with every harsh word his father ever said, he finally realized, yeah, they were true. His dad was obsessed with status, and then when he laid eyes on these coins, Jade finally clicks that he never truly expected them to throw him out for good. It's basically a payoff, just enough cash to buy him out of the family's territory, leaving his father behind just to go tell him go die out there, somewhere way off in the distance. Gazing up at the sky, he can't stop wondering what he's even meant to do with his life. A sudden, searing spike of pain rips through his skull like it's about to split him open. With a brutal headache crashing in, Jade is frozen in place, unable to move then. Strange scenes and buried memories slam through his mind like a fast-moving nightmare. Jade is totally lost at first, then she spots the old gaming magazines. He finally pieces it together. Those memories aren't dreams at all. They're from his past life. He stares at the controller and the phone on the desk, and it all finally clicks in his head. And then it hits him. He remembers how he used to burn every single hour playing NSO. Turns out he was living in Japan back in a whole other world where he was completely hooked on that VR game. NSO, he shoved everything aside and buried himself in it every single second. Every memory he has now is locked to that game and the guidebooks he obsessed over, which ended up vaulting him to the #1 spot on the entire planet. That gaming knowledge is the exact cheat code he needs to stay alive in this brutal new world. Because in NSO, you're not just a beginner. You're the only rookie in the entire world. Jade can't forget that in NSO, the whole game was basically one mission: become the strongest player on the planet. And yeah, it sounds insane, but everyone kept asking the same burning question: how could a total beginner possibly rise up and become the top dog? It all boils down to how the game was built from day one, where the novice class was the only crew that had real, limitless potential, far beyond everyone else. Everything about the game's balance was built on this one single that treated the newcomer like a rough gem shoved around today, ready to shine brighter than everyone else tomorrow. A brand new specialized class. Jade finally snaps into the truth. Being a beginner means he can learn the power he's been missing all along, steal the best moves from every job out there, and level up with a monster toolkit. And just as the thunder in his skull finally begins to fade, he stands alone in the wasteland. And then it hits him: something massive is unfolding. He whips his gaze across the rocks and the sky, and the truth hits him hard. The world he's standing in isn't what he thought. Jade glares at the jagged rocks and the endless empty horizon, and the realization hits her: this scenery is way too close to the game he used to play now. He's staring like his soul just got caught in a glitch, totally stunned by the level up. Everything clicks into place, from how the towns are laid out to those tiny horned squirrel monsters roaming around, plus the jobs the priest threw out at the ceremony, like knights, mages, and the weird novice class fit together perfectly, like the whole social structure was built to lock in. And the way different jobs work is a straight-up copy, and even though he could see it, he still couldn't believe it. Was it really impossible for a game to be real, like, for real? Jade just needs certainty. He thrusts his hand out, barks the command to open his status, and then a blazing blue screen suddenly erupts right in front of him, and he freezes on the spot before he explodes into laughter like a total maniac. He can't believe his luck. And it hits him that if this is really NSO's world, he's basically bagged the win already. He's yelling at the top of his lungs like he knows it. Jade screams at the top of his lungs because he just figured out that the novice class is totally out of control. Like, one turn and you'll see what I mean. Tell me, are you sane? Or do you know how to use it? And then it hits him: this job could finally let him climb all the way to the very top of this world. He charges into town like trouble's waiting just around the corner, and he dips into the tiny pile of funeral coins he'd been saving to buy some. He can't kick things off until he gets a real weapon, so he hands over his. He tosses the shopkeeper a measly handful of gold, then storms out with nothing but a plain knife and a joke of a blade. And the moment he can, he jumps straight into training, because as a total rookie, he knows he's got to grind twice as hard just to unlock even a single skill. So he spends every day sprinting through those hills, because piling up skill points is the only way he'll ever get stronger. It's an absolute grind. He slogs through a full hour just to hack down one measly little slime, but he doesn't even flinch. He proudly raises the 1 point he fought for, grinning so wide it feels like every ounce of effort finally paid off. And this is exactly where it got him. He holds on to his skill points for the moment, stares out at the horizon, and grins, because the hunt for the real stuff is about to begin. Jade stares into the dead, empty wasteland, knowing that if he doesn't keep grinding for new skills, he'll stay weak forever. Right as he's about to think he's safe, a slime bursts out from the rocks and ambushes him before he can react. He snaps into action in a split second, and he whips his knife into a blazing wide arc, carving through the monster before it could even get close enough to land a single hit on him. But it's way worse than it looks. More of them swarm in, latch onto his legs, and they leave, leaving him seething and trying to yank them off. Then, after 2 hours of non-stop grind later, he finally rips open the spoils and checks his loot, pulling in 10. So he plops down for a breather and yanks up his status screen, lights up Hayes. Got enough points for a game changer, so he dives into his list of unacquired skills, hunting for something huge. The screen starts flickering with a glitchy burst of strange text as he frantically hunts for the right one until a confirmation window finally bursts onto his screen, daring him. Are you sure you want to learn it? He doesn't even think twice. He shoots his hand out, taps the glowing yes on that floating screen, and then a system message snaps in and tells him he just unlocked the search skill, and it totally throws him off because he's never heard a voice inside his head like that before. Jade's still drenched in sweat, staring at the world like it's about to crack, because that voice in his head keeps screaming that reality's even weirder when it hits. So he wastes no time. He tests the new skill on the spot, goes deadly serious, and shouts for search to activate it. As he shuts his eyes, a radar grid flashes inside his mind, pinpointing every enemy's hiding spot. He's losing his mind because it actually works. He points out into the distance, swears he can feel a slime right over there, and then with a confident grin, he finally feels it. Everything's turning his way at last. And he knows this powerful. Tracking down those slimes is going to be a piece of cake. He's so relieved, tears are streaming down his face. He won't have to fear getting jumped by monsters anymore. He just stands there sobbing, jabbing his fist in the air like, yeah, because he's finally carved out a real shot, at least for now. He glances down at the heavy pouch of magic stones sitting on his belt, and, as the sun sinks behind the wasteland, he stares out at the horizon, doing the math on how far he can go with the stones he has left. All that's left now is one final move. He's got to forge that special item he's been obsessing over. Jade strides upstairs for the night as the innkeeper keeps a sharp eye on him from behind the bar. Got more work to finish? He slams into his seat at the room table and starts carving into one of his stones, explaining that he's hunting down a specific magic tool, and as he lifts it toward the light, he starts to say, He's carving a magic circle right into the stone itself, and trust me, that's an insanely unusual move because normally you can only craft stuff like this if you've got the magic crafter job. Usually these tools just start with a setup, then everything gets moving. Jade gathers rare materials and rare skills from everywhere. Then she flashes her secret shortcut. It says that if you carve the design with your own hands, even a complete beginner can pull it off. Turns out, he used to be so addicted to the game NSO in his old life that he actually memorized every magic circle in the whole game. Then he stares at the stone in his hand and then he pats himself on the back, grins like a full-on nerd, and cheers because the job is finally finished. Jade's magic circle isn't some ordinary job at all. It's a super rare endgame relic, and the grind is brutal. Jade slumps over the table, staring at the fact that he's still got 9 more to crank out. To make it even worse, this design doesn't even fall under the usual skills of a magic toolmaker. He's just sitting in candlelight, surrounded by a storm of symbols, like he's trapped in place while it all stacks against him. He keeps carving chunk by chunk, and it's pure misery, because this whole thing has to be done by hand, taking forever. He grits his teeth and stays locked in, and when he finally seals it, he faceplants onto his bed dead tired but still buzzing, because tomorrow, this tool is going to make getting SB way easier. The next day hits, the sun blasts over the valley, and a dragon rockets through the sky in the distance as Jade storms into the forest west of town, clutching the tool he hammered out all night. Then he fires up his search skill on the spot to find out what's waiting out there. He slips through the woods with razor-sharp caution, keeping his skills on full alert to sniff out any monster lurking in the brush. Then, just like that, before long, he spots exactly what he's hunting, slips behind a tree and whispers, I found it. It's a full-on rush because a monster famed for going berserk shows up right in the clearing, standing there like it's about to tear everything apart, and trust me, this thing is no joke. The story straight up tells you that. Even a top-tier warrior would get blasted a few meters back if they took a direct hit from the moment this beast's grip slammed into him. Jade stared at the glowing stone in his hand, thinking how a fight against a beast like that would normally go. He figures he'd get himself killed if he tried to take it head-on right now, so he just smirks and flashes, no hard feelings. Suddenly, his whole body tenses, sweat pops on his brow as he panics, wondering if the monster clocked him hiding there. But he doesn't waste a second. His hand ignites with magic, and he shouts the command to activate his tool. With a sharp little pop, the stone in his hand morphs, and Jade's eyes light up. Yes, As he starts to tell himself while the huge rushboard just drops, it slams the ground so hard it leaves everyone stunned. Jade spent the whole night carving, and now he just stands in the woods staring at the finished work like he can't believe what he made, realizing he's only just look at how wrecked this thing is. It works by trading the magic stone in his hand with the one inside the target, and it's got some insane perks. The biggest one is that he can finally grab magic stones torn from monsters that would normally crush him to the bone. And once he towers over the defeated beast, it's crystal clear when things change. Snagging these rare items becomes ridiculously easy. Jade spots the magic barrier finally drop, and as he kneels beside the beast, he realizes, oh no, there's one massive thing he still hasn't accounted for. So he snaps his gaze around and stares in even closer, realizing this one trick could be his biggest edge yet. It's a brutal game-ending debuff that wrecks every monster he steps up against. Jade lifts his dagger high, bracing to find out exactly how much power he's got now. He's learned the truth: every monster is strapped with a magic stone made perfectly for its body, keeping it powered and alive. And as he grips the stone, it hits him. This is the real fuel behind a monster's entire life. Take slimes, for example. What do they drop? Only slime magic stones. So when Jade taps the status screen, bam, it spits out a jaw-dropping 90,000 point drop. Because the rushboars are meant to finally get their own magic stones and stay strong no matter what. A monster won't hit full power without its own stone. But right when it seems doomed, bam, that's exactly where the plan kicks in. And Jade finally clocks the whole scheme: swap a monster stone for a trash inferior one, and the creature shuts down, straight up dying. The rushboard just crumples to the ground, utterly helpless, like it instantly got hit with some brutal anemia, and Jade whoops in the background as its mana crashes, so the beast can't hold that magic barrier up anymore. He finally cracks the real secret behind his change ability, and before the dust even settles, he's already hunting the next target. The whole plan is to trade magic stones to grind that monster down until it's pushed past its limit. Jade strides into the woods with his dagger bared, shouting for a search. But he keeps one rule in his head, that his conversion power only has so much to give, so every time he kept scanning the room, worry gnawed at him, because this trick might not even work on something as legendary as dragons. For now, it's solid for anything up to a mid-level rank, so he drops to his knees by the stream and keeps hunting, realizing that all he had to do was swap the stone, no extra battle required to end it. Jade then spots something absolutely massive: an enormous tree-hung nest swarming with monsters, and it's only getting worse as she stares at. And the second he spots it, he knows it's a massive hornet nest, so now he's already got his next move locked and loaded. Jade fires up his search skill and starts tearing apart the sky with his scan of the giant hornet nest dangling overhead. He spots only 2 monsters lurking outside, while 6 more hide inside. Looks like the worker bees are out there forging their lives away, and he clocks it. He still has 9 uses left on his change skill. Most beginner parties would be getting wiped out right here, unless they had expensive potions on hand or a detox mage to bail them out, because these things are dangerous enough to erase an entire squad. But Jade doesn't feel a single ounce of stress. He's already got a handful of magic stones lined up and ready to blast. He thrusts his hand forward, unleashing his change ability, and shouts. He barks the order the moment the magic locks in. The giant insects got caught completely off guard when the swap happened in a single blink. Right then, a storm of brand new magic stones crashed into his hand. Then the hornets all crumpled dead at once around him, and Jade just stood frozen in the chaos, dagger in hand. Jade stares down at the monsters he just wiped out, and with a grim chuckle admits his methods are painfully one-sided. But he knows he has to go all in, do whatever it takes to survive in this brutal world too. He drops onto a fallen tree and scans his stats like he's gearing up for the next move, watching him finally stack up 500 precious skill points, ready to cash them in. So he decides to spend it and snatch a skill that'll actually save him in the mess he's in right now. The menu flashes the new skill's price: 100 points, and Jade slams the confirm button without even thinking. A system message flashes that he snagged the storage skill. But that creepy voice in his head still makes his skin crawl. He didn't waste a second. He yelled for the storage spell, and a floating magic portal snapped open in front of him, explaining that it keeps every kind of item locked down and safe. tucked inside a warped pocket of space where the whole universe bends, and the best part, when he needs them again later, he can just yank them right back out whenever the moment calls for it. That giant nest swallows itself up into the portal, and Jade's buzzing like she's about to rack up every point she can. That ultra-royal jelly pure, legendary power in a single splash. The jelly twists into the portal while Jade blurts that it demands a brutal price, so yeah, he's definitely taking it. He keeps moving, then swivels his head through the silent woods and blurts out that the only thing left to do now is deal with the massive rush boar carcass roaring straight in front of him. Jade drops into a crouch and starts scratching his notes into the dirt, furious that he didn't just stash it away earlier. Turns out his storage skill has a hard capacity limit, and that's why he's drowning in all this math shit, proving that he couldn't cram that boar in there without ripping the whole setup apart and upgrading it first. With those 400 points still in his pocket, he decides he can slam the skill 3 more times. That's way more than enough room to squeeze the monster in and keep charging forward. Jade slams the confirm button for the triple upgrade, grinning as he finally starts getting the "I finally got the hang of this whole system." He shouts the spell and a gigantic portal tears open, hit by the sight. His eyes widen as he finally realizes how massive it's grown. Jade clasped his hands, leaned in, and got ready to seal the deal and end this chapter right here. He screams that it's go time, then thrusts his hand out to trigger his storage skill. Once the boar's packed away, he stares at the horizon and declares it's time to haul back to town, taking the brutal long walk back until he finally lays eyes on that massive Adventurers Guild building. He stops at the entrance, scans the boards for the perfect spot to unload his loot, spotting a sign that points straight to where they haul in the big materials and monster parts. Jade follows the signs, but doubt creeps in, and he starts wondering if this is truly the right counter. He strides into the open-air bay, where other adventurers are already tearing through enemies and racking up their kills, appraising. He popped open his storage portal and shouted at the top of his lungs to grab someone's attention. As Jade yanks the giant boar free, a clerk rushes over and tells her he's got something to sell. The clerk's eyes bulge as she snaps, lets out this panicked shout, and then blurts out, "Jade, where did you manage to pull a from?" Yank the joy out of a whole boar. She just stands there staring at the massive kill in cold silence while Jade watches her, feeling awkward as hell. He tears into the whole scene, scratching his head and demanding what that even means. He's like, "Look, the boar obviously just came out of my storage." But then he freezes for a heartbeat as the truth slams into him. Storage is a special skill meant only for beginners, and most people just slap the label "Magic Bag" on it right when he starts sweating, thinking about how most adventurers are just carry bags packed with expanded dimensions for all the loot inside, and he figured she'd assumed he was doing the same until. But after a beat, he shrugs it off and decides it doesn't really matter if people figure out. He clocks his options, locks eyes with her, and decides to. He shrugs off the question and casually calls it just storage magic. But she fires the same answer back at him like she's not buying it. For a second, she tells him she's never even heard of that magic. And now her gut screams that Jade is acting way too suspicious. In the end, she just lets out a sigh and shrugs, deciding for now not to dig any deeper into his secrets. The clerk flashes a huge grin, thrusts out her hand, and tells Jade to step in and show her his adventurer's ID. So Jade's sweat starts pouring as the realization smacks him he totally forgot about that whole ID thing. He looks mortified when he tells her he doesn't have one yet, and that clerk snaps, screaming at the top of her lungs, asking if he's seriously trying to go without an ID, especially since he just hauled in a massive rush. Jade tries to laugh it off, calming her nerves, because he's still a total beginner. She won't back off for a second. She tells him that anyone who can cut down a monster like that is clearly more than ready to crush the guild's registration exam. Jade rubs the back of his head, straight up admitting he was gonna wait until he got a lot stronger before he even tried to sign up. The clerk just stares at him like he's lost his mind, then snaps that he's contradicting himself because she can't even make sense of his logic. She just gapes at him, repeating that any guy who can drop a boar like that is already a pro, meaning there's basically no way he could fail that exam. She's convinced he's just playing humble or acting weird, but Jade just smirks that half smile and silently agrees, feeling it click. There's no way his power as a rookie is normal. Jade finally realizes that the special magic tools he's been relying on aren't exactly common knowledge for most people. So he quickly understands he's been out of the loop this whole time. The clerk lets out a heavy sigh and agrees to sell the boring materials. But she can't hide that she thinks he's insane for refusing to register. Jade knows she's right, especially since he's so strong he could glide through any exam they'd dare to throw at him, even though he still has zero real combat or defense skills to back him up. Right in the middle of his thoughts, he halts, then it hits him. There's something else he can do. So he whips back to the clerk and tells her he's changed his mind. He's taking the guild exam after all. The clerk's fired up. He shouts that it's a brilliant idea and swears it's exactly his best move. And she jerks herself back before she gets swept up in it. Her cheeks burned as the realization hit she'd never once told him who she really was. She flashes him a dazzling smile and slips her name out like it's a secret. Sylvia, the guild's main receptionist. Jade grabs his hand, introduces herself with her name, and breaks into a grin as she says it's great to meet him. Finally meeting her felt like a long-awaited dream coming true. Sylvia strides toward the main guild building and tells Jade, "I'll help you get all the official paperwork sorted out." But the moment they reach the desk, she starts scanning his form, goes totally still, and blurts his name like she can't believe what she's seeing. She jabs her finger straight at the job section of his application and demands to know if he really meant to write that he's just a novice. She cuts him off mid-sentence. Jade flashes a huge grin and says, "That's exactly right." And somehow that answer hits her like a wave, because he doesn't even hesitate for a second. She scans the paper one more time, then looks up and drops the bomb. She's got some truly brutal news for him, so she blurts it out straight up and tells him that if he's truly a beginner, he's got zero chance of passing the guild exam. Jade doesn't even look worried. He just says things feel different when an examiner tags along, or what if he just chose the simpler path hunting monsters instead? Sylvia admits that's an option, but she's not buying it for a second. She leans in close, eyes blazing, and tells him that if he truly was the one who killed that massive rush boar, then he shouldn't have a single problem passing that test while Jade's just sitting there, realizing they're dead sure he's lying about his rank. Sylvia tells Jade she's calling an examiner right now, but the moment she slumps over the desk, defeat drips off her eyes. She looks broken and begs him to wait just 1 second. Jade is just sitting there when this massive guy suddenly appears out of nowhere and tosses out a casual "hello," towering over the kid like a walking mountain. The guy locks eyes with him and demands, "So you're the one?" Pressing for answers, because who in their right mind has the nerve to sign up as an adventurer as a total beginner? When she sees how huge he is, Jade almost blurts out a refusal, then snaps back to her senses, catches herself, and admits, "Yeah, I'm the guy." Raymond, the big guy, slams his arms crossed and introduces himself, towering over Jade as he starts to. He leans in and warns the kid, if he chickens out while he's standing there in the middle of he'll step in, take down the monsters for him, and make it crystal clear. He doesn't think Jade's got this, no question about it. Raymond fires back, asking who he thinks he even is, snaps that he needs to face reality and quit chasing dreams too big. Then he blurts it out straight away. Jade should just quit the whole dream of being an adventurer. Jade shows zero nerves, flashes a confident grin, and tells the guy there's no chance in hell he's quitting. Jade locks eyes with the guy, grins like she owns the moment, and tells him he's 100% passing this exam. Raymond gets a kick out of that and tells him, "Sure then, let Jade choose the spot for the test." He throws a little shade too, muttering that the kid probably won't choose a spot with anything truly dangerous. But Jade doesn't even blink. He tells him to count on it and says he'll take him up on that offer. The camera swings to the western forest rocky ground, thick trees crowding in, and the next danger waiting around the corner, just out of view, like it's ready to pounce, and the two of them plunge deep into the woods, with Jade blazing ahead like he's on a top-secret mission, remote, quiet, and nowhere to hide. Raymond keeps staring him down, eyes narrowing hard as he shouts over. Then the kid came crashing in from behind. He looks Jade dead in the eye and tells her he's marching with pure confidence for a rookie, and then he calls out that Jade is acting like he already knows the exact spots where every monster is hiding. Spinning back around, Jade nonchalantly drops the truth, he knows exactly where they are. Raymond's curiosity spikes, and he presses Jade. So you're really using detection magic, or what? He can't believe it. Jade's pulling off tracking like it's nothing, even though he's not a seeker class at all. Jade's eyes snap sharp as he growls that whatever this is, it's already close, and it's way stronger than anything we've seen before. Raymond just shrugs it off like it's nothing. But Jade jabs a finger forward and snaps that they have to go this way. Raymond's face snapped into a whole new expression in an instant. The second he figures out what's going on, his calm shatters. He snaps, loses control, and screams at Jade that they're turning back right now. He casually blurts the question, and that's when Ramon explodes yelling at the kid, asking if he even has any idea what kind of monster is standing right there. In the heart of the clearing, a hulking white-furred ape is tearing into its meal while Jade leans in, asking, "Is this the one? The one they fear, the earthquake?" This thing is an absolute tank, so infamous for being heavy as a wrecking ball packed with enough power to crush literally anything. It's literally named after that one truth every single step it takes. It blasts through the scene so hard the ground starts shaking like it's a full-on real disaster. With raw, ridiculous power, the beast lets out a brutal roar and smashes right through anyone unlucky enough to step into its path. That earthquake is a total monster. It's earned the nickname Tank Killer because it shreds through even the most heavily armored adventurers like they're nothing. And that's why Jade looks downright fearless right now. He's 100% sure his change and ability are about to wreck a monster this massive, and it's about to happen any second. So to him, that legendary threat is basically a free win. He just stands there with his gear in hand, totally relaxed, like it's nothing at all. Ramon is completely unraveling. He snaps at Jade, screaming, "Why are you picking a fight with something you know is the earthquake?" Ramon keeps screaming that if they don't spin around and bolt right now, both of them are going to get killed, But Jade shuts him down fast, saying it's already over for that idea. So he stays icy calm and tells her the monster has definitely spotted them by now. The massive ape keeps chewing as it glares over at them, casually saying it spotted them ages ago. But then it shrugs, like it doesn't care at all, because it knows it can smash them anytime it wants. Raymond starts to spiral, clutching his head and cursing that it's over because there's no way he can guard Jade while he's trying to escape. Jade tries to rein him in, telling him his exact fighting style isn't what he thinks it's actually. Turns out it's nothing like what Ramon's used to, so he lifts his magic tag and he straight up asks if he can at least get permission to activate his item and kick off the fight. Ramon finally snaps and tells Jade, just do whatever, stop overthinking it, no matter what he wants, because at this point they're both basically already dead. Jade just shrugs and says, "All right, then I'm on the move." And he tightens his grip as he starts to go. He thrusts out his hand, and the magic crystal ignites in a blazing glow. He shouts that he's always changing, and right then, his wild energy bursts to life. As soon as the skill kicks in, sparks explode everywhere around the crystal, and the magic tool in his grip starts pulsing until it snaps into a blazing, jagged orb of raw energy. Suddenly, the huge earthquake monster stumbles and slams face first into the dirt with a thunderous crash. Ramon was utterly with his mind slipping, he blurts out in total shock, because the legendary earthquake is right there, heading his way. Mouth hanging open, he gaped at the scene, sweat pouring down his face, and blurted, "What the heck just happened?" So he jabs a finger at Jade and snarls, "What the hell did you do, kid? How'd you make that monster drop like that?" Jade looks totally thrown off and blurts that he only used a magic tool called change. But Ramon still won't buy it at all because he doesn't. So Jade snaps it into place. He didn't steal some random stone. He swapped his own magic stone with the one right inside the monster. Jade rips it apart for the room, piece by piece. Raymond leans in and swears the stone inside the monster isn't anything special. It's just trash from a weak slime. And now, because of it all, that colossal beast can barely muster the strength to twitch even one finger. Ramon is losing it. He clutches his head and screams that the magic tool is insane. Yeah, he's completely unraveling. Jay-Z can't possibly exist, but then the Jade just stares down the giant beast and declares its real proof is sitting right there on the ground. He explains that when the stone's rank for the swap is way, way lower than the beast, the monster's very first one, the creature's basically toast, even if he walks away. So he throws open his storage and moves to finish the job. He tells them that after everything he survived with the rush boar, Trading the stone for a slime just wouldn't cut it, because those smaller monsters can snap back to life after getting trapped in ice for a short while. He had to step in personally and land the final blow, just to make sure it stayed down for good. Since the earthquake changed everything, that skin and those eyes got so hard that regular weapons can't even break through. Jade says a beginner who's still stuck at the basics wouldn't even manage to scratch the monster's weak spot. So all he can do right now is sit back, grit his teeth, and wait for the ending to finally hit. But Ramon erupts into sudden yelling, and Jade gets completely blindsided. Ramon barrels right into his space and growls that if every word Jade just said turns out to be true. No, seriously, the truth is staring us right in the face. Then they land the perfect opening and tear into that massive beast right now. He reaches back for the giant sword strapped to his back, tells Jade to step aside, and says he'll take it from here. Wade's panic spikes. He grabs his attention and yells, "Hold on!" Because this whole mess is still supposed to be his exam, and he tries to carry it all alone. And only at the very end do you finally see the test get pushed back on him. Raymond freezes dead in his tracks, looking painfully awkward as he realizes the kid's right. And then he just mutters out a shaky, "Yeah, okay." Jade drops back onto the ground and tells everyone, "Let it be, it's going to die soon anyway." Then begs for a little more patience. Jade wipes the sweat off his face, still reeling at how close he was to flushing all those skill points down the drain, and then he checks his screen and boom, he actually pulled off a whole 400-point score from that fight. The colossal earthquake monster is finally crushed for good, sprawled motionless in the grass while Jade stares at the screen, stunned. He drops exactly 200 points, half his winnings on, upgrading his storage skill, pushing it straight up to +4. With a wicked grin, he declares it's time to kick off the usual routine. He opens that storage trick, and suddenly the entire giant beast gets trapped and consumed, gets yanked into his magic like a whirlpool pulling him under. Raymond snaps completely and starts wildly scanning the area, yelling, "Where the hell is that massive bee?" The beast just lunged. So Jade grins, lifts his storage card up like a trophy, and tells him everything's safely tucked inside. Raymond just freezes there, jaw hanging wide open, barely finding the words while Jade stays completely cool about it. Jade suddenly feels weird about it and blurts out, "So, does this mean I actually passed the test?" Jade's hands hover at his face like he's trying to calm his nerves, and he blurts out to Ramon, "Wait, did you really pass that test?" Raymond tells him it's obvious, then erupts in loud shouting, swearing he's beating him hands down with flying colors. So the two of them storm back toward town, and Jade waves like he's finally breathing easy. As they head back to the guild, Sylvia's already there, smiling wide, and welcoming them like she's been waiting all along. She asks how the exam went, then clocks Ramon, and boom, the stress is everywhere, sweat and all. Raymond completely loses it. He jabs a finger at Jade and erupts, screaming that the kid is an unbelievable powerhouse. He keeps shouting that Jade is tough enough to snag a B-ranks promotion on the spot, and that claim totally blows everyone's mind. She clicks her glasses into place, wondering whether Ramon's about to pull a prank, before he finally clocked it. He'd never crack jokes like that in the first place. She rockets into a sprint to hunt down the guildmaster. Jade left there, shouting for her to come back while she vanished into a choking cloud of dust. Jade just stands there, completely fed up, staring like, why is a simple registration turning into this massive nightmare? Jade just stands there, totally drained, thinking, there's no way the real guildmaster is actually going to show up. But then right out of nowhere, an old man with a stone-cold expression, he storms out, locks eyes with Ramon, and demands what the non-stop shouting is all about. If Ramon's really dead serious about turning a total beginner into a beer-ranked adventurer, Ramon refuses to back down and fires off a passionate play-by-play of everything that happened during the exam, keeping his hand on Jade's head the entire time. The guildmaster rubs his beard, lets it roll around in his mind, then finally speaks. He's still struggling to process how a kid could take on an earthquake all by himself. He keeps squinting like he doesn't trust a single word. Admitting this story is so wild, it feels almost impossible to believe. Raymond leans in and explains that Jade didn't just kill it, he supposedly unleashed some secret kind of magic and somehow bottled the entire monster away. He tells the old man, I can show you the proof right here, right now. And that lands like a shockwave, leaving him frozen. As the guildmaster stopped dead, replaying what Jade said earlier about his abilities, and Sylvia shoots back right away, backing him up and confirming the guild has already checked Jade can use storage magic for real. The guild master locks eyes with Jade and says he understands. But now he demands real proof, and they all rush to the demolition facility, where Jade stands in the middle and shouts his storage magic while he shouts for everyone to back up a few steps because whatever's coming next is about to blow up fast. And that's when it starts to get seriously dangerous. A colossal portal rips open in the sky, and then this gigantic, hairy monster starts spilling out into the world, and a brutal earthquake slams the ground with a deafening roar, blasting dust into the air in every direction. Raymond just stands there, chest out, looking proud while Sylvia and the guild master snap completely under the shock. The old man can't even breathe. He's blinking hard, stammering like he's seeing a ghost, because the monster is the real deal. Jade isn't finished. He jerks his hand back into his portal, fires off. "I've got one more thing to show." And then he picks up right where Ramon left off, then lays out the rest of his loot like he's finally ready to let it all spill. He yanks out a glowing orb, swears it's the earthquake's magic stone he grabbed with his change skill. The guild master locks in. Yep, this monster is the real deal. And when Sylvia blurts out that the mystery is finally solved, her hype hits so hard the moment basically explodes. Starts with her bringing up the rushboard Jade hauled in before his exam even began, because she tells you that when she tore the thing apart, she searched everywhere and the magic stone was nowhere to be found inside it. Instead, she rips into her bag and blurts out that he finally stumbled on one specific thing. And it was just a crushed pebble sitting exactly where the magic stone should have been. So she admits she thought it was. Back then, it felt insanely weird. But now everything's starting to click into place. The guild master puts the pieces together on the spot and snaps, that shift skill of his, this whole plan had to be built around it. And he leans in, asking if Jade's basically got this move on repeat, while Ramon stays right beside the kid and confirms, "Yep, that's exactly how I do it." The old man stares down every scrap of loot, and with all that proof sitting right in front of him, he just knows. He's dead sure now. There's zero room left for doubt. The guild master scans the results and slams the news down this year's group of examinees. He's decided to pull every string and hand them the absolute highest level of special admission possible. And Sylvia steps up, shoves the official paperwork into Jade's hands, and tells her, "Here, your brand new adventure card." She says, just like Ramon pushed for, they were itching to ditch the whole line and shove him straight into B-rank adventurer mode straight away. But she glances over with a small, apologetic look as she explains that ranks aren't just about how hard you fight, but also about, because of their earlier contributions, they just couldn't climb that high. Even with ranks that stretch from G all the way to S, they still stamped him officially as an E-ranker. Then Sylvia's face snaps into this huge, breathless, excited grin. He drops a huge, dramatic twist into the news. She doesn't do a normal sign-up. She points at the paperwork and reveals he's officially been tagged as a 3-star subjugator. Jade shoots a glance down at the car. He clutches the card in his hand, blurts out the title again and again, and real talk, he's completely lost on what a 3-star subjugator even means. So Sylvia kicks things off, explaining that when it comes to hunting quests, there's a special system that lets you grab jobs that go way beyond your normal rank. Sylvia tells Jade that his 3-star status isn't just a badge, it lets him jump straight into quests all the way up to B rank. A chart flashes his reach exploding, jumping 3 whole levels higher than his official E rank. And Jade blurts out, "Wow," like he's basically a B rank adventurer in everything but the badge. He leans in and tells Sylvia how much he truly appreciates her, because she went way out of her way to set all of this up for him. Sylvia tells him, "No worries at all." And then her mind clicks. She remembers one last thing she has to hand him. She pulls out his payment from earlier monster materials and slams down those massive stacks of coins right in front of him. With a huge grin, she tells him the final total lands at 410,000 bath. She dives into the breakdown, and as she talks, the Giga part starts to unfold. Gant took one look at the hornet nest, and it already screamed for a jaw-dropping $300,000 all by itself. After that, he drops the rushboard in, pulls out the $20,000 for his exam fee, and pockets what's left. Jade just freezes, staring at the cash like it can't possibly be real. Stunned by the payout, he fires off his storage skill, shoves the coins into hiding, and grins to himself. He's set for money for a long, long time. As he starts gearing up to leave, Jade leans in and thanks Sylvia one final time for everything she's done today. Sylvia flashes a huge smile and waves him off, telling him to not even bring it up and to promise he'll be back soon. But the moment Jade steps outside, he clocks its own's already sliding toward the horizon. And he's running out of daylight fast, so he grinds all evening long, carving through slime after slime to squeeze every last second out of his time. That night, back at the inn, he finally drops into a seat and rips through everything he gathered then. After all that work, he crashes into sleep. The next morning, Jade is back in the wild, standing on a cliffside like he's ready to strike focused and hauling SB way more efficiently than before. Turns out he's not guessing at all, he's showing up with a sharp, pre-planned strategy to make it happen. He tells you he cranked out 20 changes yesterday as prep, and right as he says it, his search skill kicks in. He just dumped 50 saved SB to upgrade his search ability and did it 3 times in a row like no hesitation at all. It pays off almost instantly, and the look on his face snaps into place like he's finally found exactly what he's been hunting for. He spots 2 racing monsters and 15 giant hornets lurking deep in the forest, perfect targets for what he's about to do. Jade scans the area and spots 6 mole monsters, brutal moles burrowed underground, hiding like a loaded trap. So he plunges his hand straight into that swirling light portal, hunting for whatever's inside. He yanked out a glowing stone crest stamped with a strange symbol like it was no big deal at all. He thrusts his power skyward, screams for a miracle, then all at once, suddenly, the stone erupts with this insane, blinding glow right above his. A surge of energy erupts from the center, blasting the entire hillside. A surge of power forms up just above his head. The entire sky twists into a massive spinning storm of raw energy then. Just like that, everything finally calms down and Jade finds himself boxed in by a pack of colossal wolves, and he just stands there, staring them down like, yep, here it is, taking them all in. He locks onto the lead monster's shape, and the moment he calls it a phantom, he realizes it's a wolf that doesn't even have a battered, living body. The phantom is a total nightmare. Nothing you throw at it can land, because it shrugs off physical attacks, then drains most magic just to power up even harder. Jade finally gets it. These things don't even have real bodies, so when he uses his change skill to swap out their magic stones, he'll wipe them out instantly, no questions asked. He can't shake the guilt of pulling them out the instant they show up, but he's got no real choice at all. So he steadies his skill-glowing crests hover above his fingertips as raw power starts surging and building in the air. Jade yells the swap command and a huge pillar of light slams into the ground as the change skill fires on every single one of them at once. Everything finally goes still, and he's clutching a round glowing orb, an actual phantom core. The real magic stone pulled straight from the monster he just defeated. Turns out this is an absurdly rare premium item. Everyone knows it for one thing. It can refill a person's mana. Jade drops into a crouch and starts hurling the cores into his storage portal, already picturing the massive payday he'll rake in when he sells them. The water ripples around him, and he can't help but ask himself what he'd been doing with his life up to this point. So he drops the drama and keeps it simple, because every move he's making is deliberate, pushing him straight toward where he has to go. The water's ripples keep screaming that everything's shifting. Turns out this whole disaster is setting off a Mona-level catastrophe. And then he starts slamming phantoms into the real world, because normally a magic tool only works when its magic circle is. But if the design slips up even a little, that tool could still trigger on its own. But the effect doesn't land the way anyone hoped. Boom, out of nowhere. The whole thing derails into random, weird stuff nobody could have predicted, sending pure chaos blasting out in every direction. Yeah, this is exactly what a magical disaster looks like, and when that change skill kicks in, it yanks every monster in the area into a single mass and fuses them into something brand new. Even though he can wipe these phantoms out with sheer skill, they're still a gold mine because every one of them coughs up *300, 300 each. Then right on top of all that, they toss out rare phantom cores. Jade catches another one nearby, and the second he hears it, everything clicks as he realizes, is there some perfect target to level up fast and get rich? He snaps open his status screen and and decides the moment's finally here to forge his foundation, so he starts hunting down skills, like martial arts, to power himself up. Jade scans his choices and steals his resolve. He has to snatch those 2 skills first, no doubt about it. So he kicks things off with physical enhancement, a passive ability that just quietly supercharges everything for him, every last one of his core physical stats. Next up is martial arts. This lets him unleash every kind of unarmed combo and sword technique, like he's been doing it for years. After snagging both of them, he burns his points immediately to push both straight up to level +4. Jade's stunned after dumping more than 2,400 points. They only got this far, and the truth hits hard. It still isn't enough, so he rips back to work. He tracks down a rampaging boar, snaps his magic circle into place, and farms 7 more phantoms, setting up the next step in the chaos. And that power-up shoots his physical skill to +7 and his martial arts to +6, so he decides it's finally time to see the results. While he stretches his legs, he can't help wondering how much stronger he's really become after all that. He strides up to a giant tree and hands it a moment, like he's paying a debt to time itself. He gave the ground a tiny tap with his foot, just to see if it felt right. Even with barely a tap, the whole tree seemed to groan and pull in a long, aching longing. Then it shot into the sky and shattered like glass in an instant. Jade is secretly He panics at the raw power in his own body, because kicking a tree into orbit is not exactly what a normal human can do. He decides he has to find someone who can actually take a hit. So he steps out He cracks open his search skill and hunts down exactly what. Something out there keeps pulling at him, and deep down he's itching to go hunt down Ramon and demand a rematch. On his way back to town, he can already feel it. This is just begging for trouble. As he sweeps the area, something flashes in front of him, and he halts for a heartbeat, staring at, in a towering tree, a monster shoots upright. Turns out it's the Shadow Wrestler, and Jade realizes this is the perfect proving ground for his brand new skills. Staring at the creature, he realizes it's basically a smaller, contained earthquake, just like the one that AP had thought about. Fought, except it wasn't a fair fight because he was way weaker. And he realizes the punches may hit like a truck, but there's one glaring weakness he can cash in on to secure the win. Jade locks eyes with the beast, heart racing, asking herself is she strong enough to win this fight with zero help from her change ability. He clicks into gear and tells himself it's go time, because he's about to find out exactly what he's capable of when the beast hammers its hand down. But Jade slips right through like it's nothing at all. Jade takes one shocked breath in as his brand new power hits him. But he can't chill for even a second because the monster is already coming in with a brutal swing. He barely slips out of the way, and as the heavy hit thunders past him, he locks eyes on that. The beast smashes down with enough force to tear up the ground, but Jade keeps surging ahead, staying one step out of reach. The Shadow Wrestler is absolutely fuming right now, snarling like he's about to tear the world apart with pure rage, throwing everything it's got. No breaks, no mercy right now. Jade can't help but feel her nerves spike as she sees just how worked up the creature is. But he's already cracked it, and he knows that. Yeah, it turns out it's got a massive weak spot. Its moves are so telegraphed you can read every single one. He planted his feet and refused to back down as the monster closed in. The monster surges forward with a blunt, straight charge, and then he watches the beast slam out its next move, roaring with a massive wind that telegraphs everything. It's just a palm strike until Jade flashes in to shut down that predictable hit so brutally fast that half a second slips by, and the monster suddenly clocks the nightmare it's already totally screwed. Jade gets slammed by an explosion, hurls backward into the chaos, and then, just to crush him, his body locks up and paralyzes him. He realizes the monster finally snapped and switched tactics, firing off that's its specialty, a ruthless aerial blitz that launches it into the sky like a missile. Rams straight at him with a super fast headbutt. Jade stays ice calm as the beast barrels in, and he fixes his gaze on the target and, on the spot, chooses to turn his own momentum into a weapon against it. He yells that he's been craving this exact moment, then launches into the air the instant the monster rockets past. He hit the ground and flipped it onto its back, then pounced on its second weakness. The system flashes the truth. He's been forced to shut down the flight controls just to cancel it, because Jade realized the monster can't skip a beat, it has to keep raising it every time. lifts its head for one heartbeat, right before it can slam back down mid-flight. He knows that if he keeps it from lifting its head, it won't be able to do a thing about it. Couldn't stop on its own, so he grabs a ride right up to the final second, then drops off and bolts, watching the monster eat full speed as it crashes straight into the cliff. The monster crashes into the cliff in a thunderous blast, and Jade watches from a safe distance as, once the shadow wrestler gets completely pulverized, face down in the rubble, and that's when it all leads to. Tosses Jade a notification his skill points just hit 150. The instant the win lands, the points rocket back up to 230 right after that. Jade stands over the beast's body and commands, "Storage now, put this massive thing away." He finally realizes this is the first time he's won a fight without you. He's been using his transformation skill ever since that slime, and he's feeling unstoppable, swearing he's getting stronger for real. He starts whistling as he heads back down the mountain path. Then he bursts forward, leaving the rest behind. Then boom, he spots a sketchy crew, and right there's one massive guy lugging a tied-up person. Jade crouches behind a tree, then freezes. He's totally stumped. Walked right into a kidnapping. The tough bandana guy grabs the girl, knots her up tight, and hurls her over his shoulder like a sack. As they push deeper into the woods, one of the guys leans over and blurts that she's a total catch, while Jade just stands there, stunned. A woman on the sidelines watches a guy, then tells him she'll score them a high price, and you can feel the trouble coming. And Jade knows he can't just stand there and freeze, so he reminds himself, "I have to act, and I have to act now." Even though he's not trying to throw down with anyone, he still has to step in and fight. Step up. He's already used those moves on monsters, so he figures it's, and he knew these skills were exactly what he'd need sooner or later. He yanks up his menu and punches in code 20. From 2014, he chased the key that would unlock the assassination skill. Then he tears off through the trees like a flash, racing in to make the save. He slips into the shadows, trailing the group as they push deeper into. Jade shoved through the forest at full speed until he finally shouted, "I caught up to the kidnappers." That hooded guard stands alone, and he decides to keep his distance, tossing a tiny stone at the tree just loud enough to yank the guy's attention away. Jade fires off Shikuchi and snaps the distance shut in the blink of an eye, caught the guy off guard and drove a brutal kick straight into his head. The guard gets slammed flying into the ground and faceplants so hard he's knocked out cold. Just as the fight keeps going, Jade immediately fires off his speed skill again, vanishing in a blink as he rockets straight back into the trees. He crouches behind a tree trunk, eyes locked on the group as they come charging toward. Jade pauses just long enough to pull up his friend's status screen and check in, and when he spots the 90 points still left, it basically smashes his doubts, proving everything he'd been thinking is dead on. Jade knows that in NSO, you've got a few other ways to rake in SP besides just grinding monsters. Back at camp, the eye patch guy snaps and starts yelling what the hell is happening but then the big guy in the beanie clocks it, someone's seriously trying to block their path. Jade slips through the shadows, locked in thought about how she'll wipe out those bandits with her special methods, the kind that leaves no one standing. Is the key. He takes them out cold by slamming them with his ass. Assassination arts. He could even wipe them out cold with a triple dose of truth serum, or better yet, by slamming them with a curse that leaves them powerless to do a single evil thing ever again. The guards clock that the attacker's still right there, and the eye patch guy snaps, pointing out that these moves are, "I've got one rule for you. Break it and you'll pay for it, if you kill them." The big guy snarls at him to stay sharp and refuse to drop his guard while Jade sharpens his sword, knowing every knockout slams in 10 points, and that's what makes it all worth it. Jade clocked it instantly. These guys were bandits plain as day, and she just knew it, with the situation bearing down on him. But he needed real proof just in case, so that's why he held back earlier and only knocked the others out. Now that Jade's nailed down what they are, he steps forward and flat out tells them he won't be showing. That dude with the iPad just chuckles it away, dismissing Jade like she's nothing but some little brat. He shrugs off the insult and tells the guy straight up that calling him a brat is totally out of line, explaining, no joke, he's actually an adult, even if he has to choke down his pride and admit he's broke right now. The beanie-wearing big guy snaps, loses his temper, and screams that turns out there's no such thing as an adult novice. But the leader snaps at him to stop spiraling over every little thing, because the kid is clearly, he's totally bluffing. He grins, already imagining the wild moment where, somehow, it's actually true. Jade doesn't let them finish. He rockets forward and crashes in with a lightning-fast sword strike. And that eye-patch-wearing leader just grins like he's waiting for it. While Jade lunges into his move, pretending he's got it all under control, he's already won. Then he bursts into laughter, slams Jade with insults, and screams that the kid is totally unarmed and he doesn't stand a chance until the bandit CJ casually plucks a tiny stone out of thin air, and they're like, "What the heck is that?" Before they can even blink, Jade hurls the rock like a bullet at lightning speed. The leader's eyes blow wide with horror when he realizes he screwed up. But the damage is already done. There's no time to move. A stone whips straight into his face, slamming him back as the beanie-wearing big guy just watches his boss get absolutely destroyed. Jade doesn't slow down for even one heartbeat. He barrels straight at the big guy who tries to. Jade wipes right under that massive swing like it's nothing, slipping clean out of the punch. Before the guy even gets the chance to reset, Jade smashes him with a punch so heavy it knocks the breath right out of his plans. The big bandit gets blasted clean off his feet and smashes into a tree so hard it looks like he's done for. Jade stared at his own hand, completely stunned by just exactly how much power he really has. And he replays the fight in his head, admitting the shadow wrestler was no joke, an insanely tough opponent. When she glances over at Sylvia, she realizes Sylvia is still totally out cold from everything that just happened. So he yanks out a blade and hacks through the thick ropes, fighting to free her at last. Jade can't stop thinking about using a heal. He casts a spell to wake her up, but then he slams to a stop when a system message suddenly flashes that he doesn't have enough SB to pull it off right now, and even with his energy drained, he refuses to abandon her. Deep in the middle of the woods where the shadows swallowed the light. So he lets out a heavy sigh, tilts his head toward the sky, and starts hunting for answers in the clouds, trying to figure out his next move before everything goes sideways. Suddenly, something whips into his view between the trees, two enormous figures soaring high overhead, and it hits him. Those eagles are powerful, and suddenly everything starts making sense in a big way. Brace yourself, this is about to get wildly more complicated and fast. Jade spots a giant bird crashing out of the sky and screams, "It's diving straight for us!" He shoots into action, yanking out a couple of his special treasures in a flash. He pulled out everything from his bag and used it to smash the threat. A blinding flash erupts as Jade stretches her hand up, straight up toward the sky, right where the eagles are circling overhead, and the bird gets brutally torn apart by massive talons with feathers exploding through the air like a storm. Jade stares at the loot in his hand, and a grin creeps in because the power eagle landed at just the right moment, and he finally got what he needed. He blurts out thanks, then charges into action with his brand new resources. A pop-up window slams into view in front of him, asking if he's ready to learn the heal skill. He picks yes, then shoots his hand towards Sylvia and casts heal to patch her up on the spot. It kicks in instantly. Sylvia lets out a low groan the moment her eyes start to crack open. Jade blurts out that he's just relieved she's awake, and she bolts upright, utterly lost, demanding to know where they are. Sylvia snaps her eyes around and erupts in a blood-curdling scream so terrified, she yanks onto Jade's shirt and clings like her life depends on it. She snaps to a halt, stares him down inches from her face, and finally realizes, oh no, just how close they are. Jade rubs at his face, looking a little awkward, and tells her the guy's only knocked out, he'll be fine soon. That just pushes Sylvia over the edge. She starts blushing like crazy, then stammers out a huge frantic apology for her reaction. She yanks her hands to her head and screams that her brain is a total wreck, barely holding herself together right now. One breath later, her rage cools down just enough to steady herself. Then she tells him she probably doesn't even have to say it, but she locks eyes with him and asks straight up, "Were you the one who really saved my life?" Jade just gives a quick nod and says, "It looks like you finally clocked it. You were rescued after all." He leans in and asks if she can remember what happens next, hangs on her answer. Remember every single thing that happened right up to the second she got snatched. Sylvia flashes this painfully awkward look and blurts that she wouldn't call it a kidnapping. Like that one sentence just turned the whole situation into a tangled mess. She looked down with a soft, heartbreaking smile and admitted it wasn't really a kidnapping at all. She'd just been played, tricked clean out of her power. She leans in and blurts out that she's not what he thinks. She's an artist, bye. She tried to trade, but every single thing she made just sat there, never selling a thing. She could barely scrape together enough money to stay alive. Then a flashback hits, her hunched at a lonely market stall, selling monster drawings, while customers just stroll past like she's invisible. As she fought to survive, a shady guy reeled her in with a smooth promise. A surefire way to rake in fast cash. Now that she thinks back, it all screams sketchy. But she still keeps following that hooded man into a pitch-black alley. As they push deeper into the shadows, everything soured fast. She tells him that the moment they showed up, he stared her straight in the face and promised he'd sell her off, and she trembled with pure terror as a hand reached. His hand lunges for her, and she admits she can't remember what happens after that at all. Jade hangs on every word, tells her that being an artist is awesome, and you can practically see her mood lift. While they rest, she digs through her bag. Then she turns to Jade and asks what he really does for work. Sylvia whips out her gear for Jade, then admits she carries her crafting tools with her everywhere leading to her. She beams, yanks out a hammer and chisel, and declares, thumbs up confident, that she makes sculptures and absolutely knows her stuff. Jade just freezes in shock, staring at her and repeating, sculptures, over and over, staring at her like he couldn't process what he was seeing, even though he knows it sounds wildly sketchy to bring up a job right after she just got scammed. Still, after getting scammed, he grits his teeth and decides fine, he's going for it anyway. Sylvia gapes in pure shock as Jade steps out of nowhere and instantly asks if she'll come work for him. Then he had to make it crystal clear this journey would swallow him whole unless he stocked up with a mountain of magic items, and that's exactly why he needed her help. Seeing how totally lost she looks, Jade bursts into a laugh, shrugs it off, and shoots back an apology for being so brutally blunt about the whole thing, saying he finally clocked he'd gotten way ahead of himself, and he hadn't even explained the whole situation to her yet. Jade tells her to stop stressing over the details. He'll hand over every sample, because he's already memorized most of the magic circles. He fires up the conversation, spills his whole situation to her, and makes it clear he's just a rookie adventurer fresh out of the gate. Sylvia plops on the ground, utterly rattled, and blurts out to Jade, so what is he even offering? Because she follows up by blurting that she doesn't know a single magic circle at all. Not one, but Jade just grins and blurts that he's honestly blown away. She can even make magic items in the first place, and that it's wild she's carving them with her own hands without being a magic crafter at all. Sylvia freezes on the spot, stunned, thinking this guy must have an absolutely insane memory. Then she glances down and admits it's a super generous offer for someone like her who has no way to earn a living. But she insists that even if it's possible to craft those items but the second he carves them, he triggers the real catch. Sylvia stares up at Jade and presses him like, are you really sure you don't want to track down a real professional instead of her? So Jade just lets out a sigh and says, yeah, my reaction totally makes sense, because this whole situation is absolutely messed up. He cuts the chit-chat, looks Gina straight in the eye, and tells her the real reason he wants to hire her is painfully simple. Jade tells them the exact stuff he wants can be crafted way faster by Gina does it, but instead of getting it, her face twists into confusion and she blurts, so what do you mean mass-produce them like that? He goes on to say that normally a pro craftsman burns through a ton of mana and rare materials just to carve a magic circle onto a useful item, which is why right here, carving them by hand beats using magic. And Gina just stands there stone still, deadly quiet, processing everything like it's all crashing into her at once. She drops her gaze and finally admits it. If what he's saying is true, then everything could change, and she realizes that maybe, even without magic skills, she can still step in and actually help him after all. Jade flashes a huge grin and says, that's exactly it. Then he leans in and urges, come on, let's try it together. Gina looks away for a second, admits she feels just as much in his debt for saving her earlier, and then she locks eyes with him, total determination blazing, then yells that she'll do it, begging him to let her take the job. Jadis practically bursts with excitement, saying she's thrilled to hear it and that he's genuinely glad she's interested. Then he thrusts his hand forward to seal the deal and introduces himself. Jade. Finally, he introduced himself the right way. Gina flashes him a bright smile, introduces herself as Gina, and tells him the pleasure's all hers, saying, and when she shoots her hand out, she shakes his and makes it official by calling him Mr. Jade to lock in their brand new partnership. Suddenly, Jade's face twists like he's hit a tiny panic. Then it clicks. He forgot something absolutely massive. He slings the monster loot around and immediately brings up her salary, then pushes his luck asking if he can name the price after he sells everything. Gina shrugs it off with a soft smile, acting humble as she tells him whatever you give is fine, as long as it covers the basics she needs. She watches him work, gets completely wrecked by his storage magic, blurts out amazing. While Jade even admits she's flexible with the pay, is exactly what he needs, right now. This is a total lifesaver. He steals a moment to lock in his thoughts, figures out what has to happen next, then it hits him. There's still one more guy on the ground, and they've got to deal with him fast. Jade whirls back to Gina and blurts, "This is gonna feel a little sudden, but then boom, an idea hits him." Jade tells her he has to hunt down the bandits' partners, so he turns to Gina and begs her to engrave a magic circle onto a monostone. Gina tells him she's happy to help, but her smile still looks a little unsure about how the whole thing is supposed to work until she wastes no time, shifts into gear, and starts prepping a sample for her to copy. He thrusts a sheet of parchment at her, packed with a mind-bending magic design, and tells her it's the exact sample he needs copied. Jade grabs his attention and demands he carve that exact circle into the monstone he's clutching in his other hand. He says it doesn't matter how big it is or where she places it, as long as the carving is insanely precise. Gina gets fired up, leans in, and promises, "I've got this," vowing to have everything locked and loaded for the job right away. As she yanks out a huge roll of tools from that tiny pouch, Jade's eyes widen, because she realizes she's been carrying a magic bag the whole time. Gina grabs the monstone and snaps it into a wooden frame with careful, steady hands. Jade stares at her work, frowning hard, thinking, why do I need this huge table and a mounting base just to set one tiny stone? Gina rushes to work, grips her hammer and chisel, and starts pounding the stone with razor-sharp focus, tapping like every strike matters. She wraps it up fast, then beams a massive grin, like she just showed off a trophy. Jade's jaw drops so hard she blurts out, "Wait, was it even 3 minutes?" Because she can't believe how fast he was. As he studies the stone, it hits him, every carving is flawless. He can't wrap his head around how someone that talented is still stuck without a job. He glances back at her and blurts out a heartfelt thank you for the help. Jade snaps at Gina to step back, warning that if the magic flops, things are about to turn deadly. And that's why leaving. Gina stared, totally baffled, while Jade quietly admitted he was lying. Because with work this incredible failing was never even on the table. He yanks the shirt up off one of the knocked-out bandits, panicking because he's sure she'll never forgive him if she catches him doing this crazy surgery stunt. Even though Jade's the one going along with it, he can't shake the heavy doubts crawling up his spine about this plan. But once he sees what's coming, he knows he's got no choice at all. He's trembling in his skin, drenched in sweat from the pressure. Jade grips the carved stone with tweezers, heart pounding. He's about to slide it straight into that man's body, right over his heart. He growls through his teeth, then locks in and launches himself into the slide with the stone. Stone slammed into the opening. The wound starts to glow then. The moment it seals shut, he realizes every bit of it worked. This is a rare high-risk cheat for stacking SB curse someone so tightly that they can't do a single evil thing anymore. Jade finally clicks. He realizes the anti-guilty curse only worked because of the magic tool Gina just finished building for him. He glares at the bandits thinking, I should have ended this last one just like the other two, before he turns them in. But because they're mixed up in human trafficking, there's a very real chance that, or maybe they're tied to some massive underground crew you've never heard of. Jade wipes the sweat from his face and admits he'd hoped to let one of them slip away so he could follow the links and trace where it led. That's the whole reason they built the tool in the first place. He locks eyes with Gina and gets stuck on the thought of how everything between them started and how far it's come. With her help, they managed to tie up every loose end so fast it felt unreal. Jade whips her head toward Gina and tells her she's officially been activated, praising her for crushing her first task sheet. She lets out a huge breath and tells him, I'm just relieved it all went the way it was supposed to. Now that they're done here, Jade fires up and tells them it's finally time to make their way to the guild. But then he slams on the brakes and says, "That's only the part I want to." He's got to do it, because there's one last thing he still needs to take care of. He bows and asks if she'll help him hunt some slime before they call it a day, so they have. They finally burst into the guild reception, and Jade immediately starts hammering out every form they need. Ramen strolls by and tells Jade it looks like he's really going all out today, and Jade shoots back a quick greeting. He tells Ramon he just wrapped up selling every last thing they caught today at the dismantling facility. Ramen's eyes widen with genuine awe as he leans in and asks the kid straight up how much money he pulled in from that haul. Jade just shrugs like it's nothing and tells him it ended up landing somewhere around 4 million people in Perth. Ramon snaps the moment he hears the total. He can't wrap his head around it. Jade pulled in 4 million Perth in one single day. He leans in, and beads of sweat start pouring off him, sweating bullets and grilling Jade, demanding to know what kind of wild, crazy loot she hauled in to pull that much cash. He shot her a nervous look, totally lost for words because it all spiraled so fast, he barely had time to process it. He starts ticking off his kills, bragging about the rush boars and the shadow wrestlers he wiped out in the forest. Then it clicks, blurts out that he'd sold 15 phantom cores too, raking in a total of 3 million. Ramen's jaw drops the second the phantoms get mentioned. He's hit with pure shock and his whole body starts trembling as he demands confirmation that the kid truly fought it and actually came out on top against something that dangerous. Jade forces out a weird little laugh, then brushes it off fast, still trying to play it humble, like he's about to. But when the big guy pushed back, he shrugged and insisted it was probably just a fluke. Ramon locks eyes with him, daring him to make a move because Ramon knows exactly what it costs to point the wrong way. He basically tells everyone those monsters are supposedly way rarer than dragons. Jade dashes off with a quick goodbye, and Ramon realizes one brutal truth. If he lets every kid's story crush him, he'll be stressed out forever. Ramon strides away humming to himself, while Jade just stands there drenched in sweat, still locked on that massive 4 million payout. Gina leans close, drops her voice to a whisper, and asks Jade just how many months of normal pay was that loot meant to swallow. Jade just stares at him like, "What are you even thinking?" And then tells him straight what he got was only pay for 1 day of work, and that's why it could. And it totally shatters Gina's brain. She can't even wrap her head around how someone could rake in 4 million in a single day. She looks completely wiped out, mumbling that even a tiny fraction of what he's making would be more than enough to cover her monthly pay, because his earnings are straight up unreal. Jade scratched the back of his head. Then it hit him, Gina must have been through hell to look this stressed about his paycheck. Just then, a girl in a robe came sprinting over, breathless, and apologized for keeping them waiting while she got everything ready. She tells them the guild has finally sifted through every magic bag and all the equipment they snatched from those bandits. The girl reveals her true identity as Maka, then snaps, "Follow me," and leads them straight to the inspection area. She drags them to a table stacked to the ceiling with weapons and gear, then reveals the ugly truth: so much of the loot was stolen. Makeup keeps digging through the pile of loot and orders them to snatch anything that's theirs. Then Gina suddenly spots something and she snatches up the black and white hat off the table and screams, "Yes, I finally found it!" Gina yanks the hat down onto her head, looking totally relieved as she blurts that it's her all-time favorite thing in the entire world. The whole mood snaps as Maka leans over the table and jabs a finger at the map, pinning the exact spot where Jade had already sprinted into those bandits earlier. Jade studies the map, locks in that 3 guys were there total at that spot. And then he tells you this after he knocked one of them out. He slammed a curse onto the guy, so he'd never, and he started causing trouble. Then left him in the dust. Jade taps into his search skill from afar and watches them still totally knocked out, not a single inch of movement. Gina's jaw drops in awe, and she tells Jade he's amazing for being a man. He could actually keep track of all that stuff, no matter how chaotic it got. Jade drags a hand across his cheek, looking totally awkward, and blurts out, "Did I ever actually tell you my name in the first place?" Mika shoots him a confident look and tells him she knows exactly who he is. No introduction needed. Mika snaps, saying Ramon spilled every detail about what he did yesterday. She's totally hyped as she tells Gina that Jade apparently flattened a giant earthquake ape with one single finger. Jade freezes up, blurts that it's a total overstatement, like, there's no way anyone would buy it, and the words hit her right in the chest, feeling. Mika looks pretty embarrassed, but she snaps a salute anyway and promises she'll hire pro trackers to hunt those bandits down immediately. She flips the gears and starts talking about from the moment the rest of the gang showed up after that and set up Mika tells them the bounty won't stay the same, it'll spike or drop depending on just how famous they become, just how dangerous these guys are. She vows she'll spill the details the moment they learn something, and Jade cuts her off. He leans in and tells her, I'm counting on you, don't let me down. Later at the inn, Jade blurts out that he booked 2 extra rooms, one to give Gina her own space, and one just so she can work, but, still, he shoots her a worried look and asks if she's really planning to crush all that gear today. Gina rolls up her sleeves, declares she'll be finished in 3 hours, and looks like she was born for this. Jade's jaw drops as Gina lays down hit after hit, absolutely knocking out the competition with sheer talent. He unloaded 60 items in just 3 blazing hours. But he makes sure he tells her right before he cuts himself off mid-sentence. Focus on being accurate, not just quick, and make her show it. Tell me exactly which samples to use. She's talking up the different magic stones while swearing, with full confidence that she's got it. Just as Jade lurches toward the door to head to work, Gina blasts her name like a warning. It slams the brakes on him and he whips around staring like, wait, what's going on? She flashes him a massive grin and tells him, with total gratitude, that he saved her life earlier that day, and that's when she keeps going. Jade shrugs it off like it's nothing, then finally slips away to his own room. Staring up at the moon, he lets out a breath because his very first official day as an adventurer is finally over. But later on, he storms right back to check on Gina. He raps softly on the door before cracking it open to see what was waiting on the other side of. Collapsed on her bed, completely wrecked after a grueling day of hard work. Jade peeks at the dead silent room and instantly wonders if Gina finally passed out in the workroom. So he goes right down the line, checks the trays, and his jaw drops. Every single piece she made is flawless, and she sees the bag and the note she left behind. He vows to turn all her hard work into something great. Later that day, Jade strides into the rocky plains, pumped to start grinding for SB all over. He's double-checking every piece of gear. Turns out he's packing 66. Gina handed him 6 fresh items, plus 3 extra spares, so that put him at, and he's loaded up with a special magic tool and 1 area built to send monsters running. It's restricted, 1 newbie could fumble it and trigger a terrifying stampede in seconds. And it's so insanely rare that you basically never ever see it up for sale in the open market. Jade knows that if he plays it smart and hits the right moves with these 2 tools, he can yank in phantoms and farm all the SB he wants in a snap way faster than yesterday. Jade realizes he needs 2 different kinds of items, then panic hits hard because he completely blanked on the one thing that mattered most, the change. So he snaps to action and decides he'll start today by hunting down magic stones. Crashing through the woods, he spots a clearing ahead, and then his eyes lock onto something looming in the distance. It's a calm-looking lake. But the moment Jade steps in, a magical signature hits her thick and wild, like a rush boar charging straight at her. He spots something shifting and swimming beneath the water's surface. He stared at the water, stunned by his luck, and instantly understood exactly what's about to happen right as a towering burst of water detonates and hurls a projectile up into the sky straight at a bird flying overhead. A razor-sharp fish-like monster shoots straight through the bird like a divine arrow and drops it instantly. Jade's actually grinning now, because he never once thought he'd stumble onto a monster this rare out here. Leaning in, he snatched the loot right out of the air as it tumbled down. Still, he can't believe his luck as he spots that rare fish drifting there, just begging to be caught. He grabs every last piece of loot he just pulled from the lake, plops down on the shore, and he pinned the fish down hard, finished it in seconds, and then tore right into his work. He leans back, eyes locked on the catch, and wonders what he's about to do with it before the moment slips away, and he figures it's probably the smart move to turn it into something you can use right now. Just as he's plotting his next strike, his expression snapped like he'd just heard the craziest news. He sensed something monstrous lurking nearby, and it hit him like a gut punch that, whatever it is, it's coming in hot, and it's getting dangerously close. Jade realizes he has to be ready, so he swings open his inventory and taps the screen. He yanks out a brand new weapon, the crescent blade, and declares it's go time for a test run. He spots a shadow wrestler skulking nearby, holds his breath, and realizes the monster hasn't even clocked him yet. Jade snaps into focus and blurts that he's ready to go. He screams Crescent Moonblade and throws everything he's got into one massive, earth-shaking swing. It bursts in out of nowhere and tears the shadow wrestler apart in a single heartbeat. Staring into the forest, he basically wiped out every tree in his path. He figured it'd be good. But the bite of this thing is straight up unreal. Jade's mind reels as the crescent blade he just swung unleashes that wild burst. He feels the offshock waves hit, and instantly realizes that this move normally wouldn't come anywhere close to this. That divine arrow clamped onto his jaw and boom supercharged his strength, because its special effect turns every shockwave into something way sharper and brutally more powerful. He tells himself, I'm not just gonna keep using, shoving that raw fish jaw straight in like it's the only move that matters. Jade grabs the materials he found and vows to forge a brand new sword from scratch. Once he's back at the guild, he plans to get Sylvia to hook him up with a real solid blacksmith, but first, he has to deal with this. He yanks out a divine arrow magic stone he'd been clutching for dear life, and then it hits him. Hard. He snaps into realization. He has to engrave that wrong version of his change, skilled and precise, straight onto the... He cuts the delay and skips the trip back to town to find Gina, so he figures. Honestly, it'd be way faster if he just grabbed the blade and carved it himself right there in the woods. He can't help but know his carving falls far short of Gina's work, especially because working on something this tiny is a pain in the neck. But he's still pretty sure it'll work, even if it's a little sketchy at first. He finishes the prep, then calls out that area menace to light up the stone. Then he launches forward, vaults into the trees, and hunts for the perfect hiding spot. 10 minutes crawl by as Jade hangs up in the trees, and he finally gets it why craftsmen never sell these tools, because if an insane swarm of monsters has crashed into the ground right under him, and when the area menace stone gets buried, trapped beneath a giant swarm of hornets, he fought to survive as they tried to burn everything to the ground. And just when you think it's over, more boar-type monsters keep crashing the party. A whole pack of wolves is gathering too, sniffing out the chaos and hunting for whatever's stirring it all up. Jade flicks through the numbers and realizes there are over 100 monsters here right now. And that hits him like a final countdown, because he decides it's finally time to pull off his next move. He fired up his change skill and charged it through a tiny stone. He slams the glowing stone into the heart of the clearing, and then bam, an enormous flash erupts, blazing through the dark and snagging every monster in the area in its light. Jade shoots them a quick question as he fires up his search skill, ready to keep hunting, the deadly skill that lets him read exactly how much damage he's dealing. Jade's search skill bursts across the whole area, pinging every corner on the screen. Green light floods in as 61 separate targets light up because he already wiped every single one out. He drops to one knee, gasping for breath, and realizes that last move actually landed barely. Even after everything that hit him, Jade didn't budge. He stood his ground while a massive pack of wolf phantoms closed in all around him from every side, but it's trailing off. His trap snaps shut perfectly, an energy orb shoots out and slams straight, right into a wolf's gaping mouth, and Jade just smirks as the monsters vanish into thin air. He casually tosses out a quick, thanks for the meal, because he's right on the edge of landing a massive reward. He yanks up his status. When he finally hits the results window, boom, 18,300 points staring him down from those phantoms it's a massive leap in his total skill points. He freezes in front of the screen, stunned, and realizes just how gigantic that jump really is. Jade refuses to waste a second. He shoves every last point into his combat stats, blasting both his body strengthening and martial arts up to level 17. Once the upgrades are done, he wipes everything down, then raises the lure stone and shouts for someone to store it away. With his brand new stats, Jade rockets through the forest, speed so insane it cuts him off mid-sprint. He's moving so quick he's nothing but a streak of blur, weaving between the trees. Jade rips his power into the air, and a massive energy blast tears through the trees right in front of him. He tightens his fist, convinced that at this level, he can wipe out a rushboar solo without breaking a sweat. Jade checks his stats and spots 1,400 skill points still sitting there, untouched, and now he can't stop wondering what to spend the rest on. Now that his martial arts finally hit level 10, a brand new option bursts onto the screen. He slams yes and confirms the purchase. A notification flashes that he's unlocked the Eye of X skill, and Jade smirks like she just struck gold, because this is about to change everything. That skill is straight up insane. He can cut through enemies like they're transparent, reading exactly what's going on inside their bodies. By watching how his opponent's muscles twitch and his heart pounds, he uses martial arts with razor precision to land the perfect counter. It even targets pressure points, so when he lands a clean hit, it hits like a knockout combo. Hit those exact spots, and he'll paralyze them completely. It's not just a range, it all clicks into his search, like one lead feeding the next. Search skill, meaning he can hunt down targets with way more precision than ever before. Precision became his deadliest weapon while he hunted. It's an insanely useful skill, and trust me, it's something you'll want to master because it'll change everything. To snatch it the second the level 10 requirement finally kicks in. Jade stands there, right by the edge, hands tense, eyes locked, like something huge is about to happen. A tree shrugs like, yeah, it's time to head home. But he's itching to try out his brand new skill first until, right then, a brutal rush erupts from the woods, and a whole wave of attackers barrels straight at him. He nicknamed it Jade Just Grins, and swore it was a bullseye because a rush boar was the perfect test subject. He locks eyes with the beast, fires up his brand new power, and shouts, "Eye of the Asterisk." Everything changes. Jade locks eyes on the beast, and the boar lights up with glowing lines, instantly flashing its full status and every piece of movement data he needs. Jade drops into his field of view, and he realizes the skill is basically a cheat sheet. Just follow the steps and he's set. The skill orders him to dump his weight onto his right foot for a blink, then whip into motion and snap one step left. It clicks perfectly, then the boar's center of gravity completely falls apart, and those massive beasts, then it starts to crumple like the whole thing can't even hold itself together anymore. A target marker suddenly flashes on the creature's leg. He aimed at the weak point right on a 10, ready for a perfectly timed strike. Jade never misses the opening. He launches forward and swings first. A brutal kick crashes straight into the joint and the boar crumples. Bore through it while it's totally helpless. Jade isn't done. He slams out that he's going for one more, then dashes in and follows right behind. He slammed a heavy blow into the beast's leg and wrote it all down as proof. Textbook calf kick, clean, brutal, and straight to the money. He springs back into the air with his weapon poised, claiming that this hit should pin the boar in place for a little while at least. His special vision locks on to the perfect opening right at the creature's neck. Jade screams his attack name, launches his Crescent Moonblade skill, and pours every last ounce of power into going for the kill. A massive strike rips into the boar with brutal force, ending the fight on the spot. He hits the ground like a feather, and as the monster collapses, its body is cleanly split in two right there on the grass. Everything unfolds exactly as planned. Jade thinks to himself that he's finally got the proof, fully confirmed just how insanely strong his new skill and upgrades truly are. But he almost walks off, then freezes, catching himself just in time, realizing he still has one job left: pull every last magic stone out of that body. While he's at it, he burns through the rest of his skill points to finally boost his search ability the way it's always deserved. Jade finally sinks his last points in, and right on cue a notification blasts onto his screen, confirming his search skill just hit asterisk level 5. Gina scans his work and asks straight up if he really crushed the rush boar this time without his magic tool. Jade just snaps a quick nod and doesn't say a word. She leans in, studies the carcass up close, and clocks that the head is. He's completely clean, no scratches anywhere else on his body at all. The only damage is where that stone hit. Gina keeps pressing on, insisting that almost nobody out there has the skill to land a kill that clean. But then she breaks off, like she just hit the edge of something she can't say. But Jade just rubs the back of his head, laughs it off, and says, "Nah, I've got a skill one that pinpoints every vital spot." He realizes how that sounds and then, mid-thought, admits his whole explanation is pretty lazy. Gina totally clocks it, and she fires back, "You're just casually dropping insane info like it's a normal Tuesday?" While she struggles to even understand what kind of skill could pull off something like that. She shifts gears instantly, locks eyes with him, and launches into it like, "Okay, but are you really about to claim you brought a phantom?" Phantom cores with him today too. Jade stands there, completely rattled, like he just read her mind. Gina's still stunned by his explanation, but Jade waves it off and tells her it was all just pure luck, which makes in replay the last time he sold her a phantom core she totally lost it, acting like a massive natural disaster was about to tear the world apart. Watching her obsess over the stuff on the table only proves one thing: his plan's locked in, and he's definitely stashing his other core for now. He shuts down the conversation and yanks out a long, bony thing, and the second Gina spots it, her eyes go wide with shock. She leans in so close she can barely breathe, firing off. Is that really a divine arrow? And Jade just stands there, utterly lost. He tells them it's only a phantom fish, nothing even close to a high-rank monster, then bursts into laughter like he couldn't believe he got lucky again today. As Gina checks the deadly material, Jade leans in and tells her he's ready to process the fish part because once it's done, he'll forge it into a real weapon. Because he's brand new in town, he leans in and asks her who knows a solid blacksmith nearby, someone who can take on a job like that. Gina goes dead silent for a beat, fixes her glasses with a sharp stare, then leans in and says there's only one place that can pull this off. Jade barrels to the edge of town, where that heavy stone building looms, and then, finally, he reaches the Velge workshop. Jade stands outside the building, swearing he finally hit the right place, yet his nerves are crackling because he's still chewing on Gina's warning. She said the guy's skills are legit, but there's one huge catch, and that's exactly what's got Jade side-eyeing him like, what am I even walking into? She calls it a personality problem. Sure, but Jade drops that thought, grabs the workshop door, and yells out to see if anyone's there. The blacksmith whips around and stares at him like he could kill with one glance. Jade feels the weight crushing down on him. Sweat breaks out as he clutches the fishbone and awkwardly blurts that Vel can forge it into a custom sword for him, right? The big blacksmith stands there, hands planted on his hips, staring straight at the item like it just challenged him. He grabbed it, then froze when he realized it wasn't just an arrow at all. It was a divine one. He tells Jade it's top-tier material, even though he clearly has no clue how a kid like him managed to get his hands on something that rare. That surge of confidence hits Jade like a lightning bolt. And with a grin so wide it could light up a room, he asks Velge straight up if he'll take the request. Velge insists he'll take it on because in all this land there's no other blacksmith who could even touch a material like that. But just as Jade finally starts to breathe easy, Velge's face hardens, and he snaps that kid to hold on right there for a second. Jade is absolutely thrilled, and she thanks the blacksmith for stepping up to take the job, because things are finally starting to go. Jade tells himself that, yeah, Velge might be blunt as a hammer, but deep down he's still being fair, and Jade decides the next thing he's about to do. That guy's probably just floating in a good mood, because the materials he brought are top-tier quality. Right there by the counter, Jade leans in and asks, so when do I need to come back for the finished sword? But Velge shrugs and tells him, right now is perfect, then drops the wildest line: he's paying Jade double the market rate. Jade just stands there drenched in sweat, blurting, do you mean right now? While he stares like, why is this blacksmith even trying to pay him? He's totally lost, realizing he has zero clue where this conversation is heading, so he leans in and asks Velge if he accidentally got it backwards, because clearly Velge should be the one handing over the money for the work. Velge whips his head around with a hard stare and fires off a question. Does the kid really think he can buy back a sword that Velge is about to forge it himself, hands-on, proving that the real prize isn't the blade, it's the craft? Velge locks eyes with Jade, growls that he's never giving up a sword to some brat Jades. He's completely stunned when the blacksmith says he'll cover the materials, because this weapon isn't just any blade, it belongs to a real warrior. He thunders a heavy bag of coins onto the counter and snaps, this is why I'm paying double. Honestly, it makes Jade feel like he's cracking at the seams. He tries to protest, but the old man steamrolls right over him and won't stop. Velge glares him down and says, with how weak you are, kid, if you tried to use a weapon like that for real, it'd be a complete disgrace and that blade would practically weep itself. He stands his ground, gripping Jade's attention, insisting that even if the materials are the best on Earth, it still doesn't matter. They've got to find the right owner, then you slide double the cash on the table, and those kids have nothing left to complain about. Jade is trembling with pure frustration, glaring at his own thoughts and thinking, I've got nothing but complaints, especially since he could rake in money anywhere. But you don't just swipe your card and buy a divine arrow. Rare materials like that don't work like cash. Jade cuts straight to it and asks Velge, "So you'll actually sell me the sword if I prove I'm not weak?" He won't back off, and that question snaps the blacksmith into action. Smith gets completely blindsided. Velt just stands there, like he has all the time in the world, wondering what he just heard. While Jade begs for one shot to prove himself, he's betting it all. Velge locks eyes with the old man and asks straight up if he's actually serious. And then so Jade flashes a confident grin and tells him, "Of course you are," because in her world, there's always room to negotiate. Velge bites on the bait and promises he'll go for a mock battle against the opponent he's already gearing up for. But before he moves, he gives the kid one brutally fair warning. Get this wrong, and it could wreck him so badly he's done for good. Jade doesn't even blink. He just says, "Deal." Like he's not the least bit scared of the risk. Velge studies him for a breath, then orders, "Come back in 7 days." And Jay nods and agrees. It's usually impossible to figure out what a rookie can truly do, but this kid is the kind of different that makes everyone stare. Jade's got this rock-solid confidence, then he flat-out warns that if anyone thinks he looks weak right now, they're about to get hit with a serious shock. He promised the world that a true beginner, armed with just enough change, can skyrocket in growth, and do it all in 7. He storms back to the guild and slams a mountain of monster loot onto the counter like, it's insane. Gina stares in shock, like her eyes can't even handle it. There's way too much, and she's barely able to believe it's real. Jade rubs his head, admits it was a total struggle to pull everything together. Then he shoots out an apology for the last-minute timing, then tells her he's got to have every single one of these processed by tomorrow morning. He leans in and asks if she can engrave the exact same change skill on the whole batch again just like last time right after everything with. So Gina clocks it, instantly cranking through this much work on a schedule this tight is going to hurt. Even with everything piling up, she shoves him back and insists she'll handle it, swearing she'll be done by tonight. And that promise completely blindsides Jade. He thanks her for the help, tells her not to push herself too hard, and Gina just shoots him a quick nod. Starting the very next day, Jade bolts straight into action and drives his plan forward without wasting a second. He kicks off a ruthless hunt for a massive pack of phantoms called Area Menaces. Jade decides to stay on this exact path, no slipping. A razor-straight routine 3 times every single day, and he keeps doing it for 3 straight days, grinding on until there are only 4 days left before the mock battle actually hits stacked up. He hauled in quite a bit of SB from all that hunting. Jade storms to a cliff to test a secret technique right before the big fight, but he decides it's smarter to sharpen the skills he already has before he goes chasing anything new. On his status screen, he sees it. Physical enhancement and martial arts have both blasted up to +47. Jade plants herself before a massive tree, stealing a quick breath to lock in her focus. Jade unleashes everything in one brutal punch, and the massive tree gets utterly demolished. The trunk gives a loud snap. Everything tumbles down in a wrecking roar. And Jade just stands there staring. He just stands there grinning like he won and says, he's declaring with zero hesitation that his foundations are finally done, believing this kind of power will carry him through until the moment he has to face the real nightmare like krokans and wyverns. Next, he checks his status screen, and his eyes widen. He just unlocked the barrier skill. So he immediately put it to the test, calling for a barrier and watching a glowing shield snap into place. Jade says it's meant for defense, but then he grins and goes, "I know, we can use it a whole other way." He realized that cranking it up to +15 gave it the raw power it needed to go. Suddenly, he rockets straight upward, blasting over the forest canopy as he soars into the sky. Then he shouts for a new barrier and uses the magic shield like a springboard to launch himself forward. Jade plunges through the air like a thrown stone, picking up terrifying speed. But he snaps into control, plants his weight on a barrier as a foothold. And the truth hits him. He's going to realize this. This hands him the ultimate advantage in the sky. Then he brings up Takafumi and slams the landing on his magic platform, then launches himself again without hesitation. He finally slams down on the ground, sending a puff of dust flying. Jade checks his screen and right there, his Eye of X skill pops with a +10 hit. So he fires it up and starts testing it right away. He already knows it's good, but now that the new buffs let him use the entire landscape like a weapon, turning every corner and every shadow into his advantage. Right then, a shadow wrestler clocks him and bolts to escape, but Jade won't let it slide. He slams his Eye of X online and locks onto its trail. Jade locks onto his target the moment he spots him through the map's glowing digital wireframe. He rockets forward and slams the shadow wrestler with a brutal hit, knocking it right off screen, ending its run. Jade braced herself as it came flying back right into the kind of massive explosion that shook the whole area. He finally realizes that the terrain and those hidden spots are his secret weapon, giving him a massive edge. Now he can aim straight for the vitals and crush pressure points to tear through enemies with way more damage. He catches himself thinking, I bet I could have won even without that new power. But he goes right ahead and slams his finger on the confirmation screen anyway. Jade grinned like she'd just found the last missing piece, and then a system alert snapped onto the screen. He's finally proving that he's unlocked all 13 orphans. Then it all slingshots into the ultimate novice skill, Peerless Domain. This power creates a special gauge that skyrockets when he connects with an attack, when he takes damage in the clash. Jade studies every detail of his new power. Once that gauge maxes out, he unleashes the skill. He can use that skill anytime he wants. The best part? Once it kicks in, he locks into a completely invincible mode for a limited window, and he just keeps barreling forward, no stopping him. Totally untouchable no matter how a dragon breathes down on him, not a scratch. Because he just stands there like it can't touch him at all. And since those skills cost 0 MP, Jade can just unleash his deadliest sword techniques back to back, no breaks, no limits, unleashing a relentless storm of strikes, each one packing 50 times the punch of his usual attacks. He realizes dropping those 10,000 points was totally worth it. Ultimate skills are one and done, so you don't need any upgrades at all. And on top of that, this flawless hero ability feels way easier to control than all his other tangled high-level skills. The thrill starts to surge, and Jade can't wait to see what this thing can really do in a real fight. But before he goes all out, he knows he has to find out something he can slam into, so he finally maxes out that gauge. He barely waits a moment before he spots a massive rush boar, the perfect opponent to kick off his field test. Jade slams the Eye of the X skill on, and his gaze snaps sharper like the world just went into focus. He locks eyes with the speeding boar and watches it unleash its signature charge. Then he realizes what it's doing, but he doesn't budge 1 inch. He grins and demands the beast unleash everything it's got. He's standing there totally exposed when the monster crashes into him. Jade just grins and eats the hit like it's nothing. Then a glitchy, game-like ripple blasts outward from right under his feet. The hit slams into him and whips him sliding across the dirt, ripping him away from. Jade steps in to check the distance. He's betting the next hit will push him right into range. Rammed him back nearly 7 meters. With damage already eating at him, he shoots to check his Musu gauge and he spots the bar barely scraping 10% like it's nowhere near done. And it's gonna take way more than that to fill it. Jade tells him the Musu gauge is a total trick. It pays out based on the impact he lands. So how far he gets blasted back matters way more than just soaking up raw damage. He figures out the quickest way to fill that bar is simple. Smash himself with the heaviest hits, get launched as far as he can, and turn every blast into speed. So he digs in and refuses to back down. Sure, the damage to his body is still pretty light for now, but he's got a long road ahead, which is exactly where the story goes. It pushes him to the grim realization he's gonna need around 9 more of those blows before the gauge finally hits the mark. He checked his stats, and crazy enough, his health barely budged even after that brutal hit, proving he can take the grind without breaking. Then he just freezes in place as a faint glow starts to swell around him. At last, Jade spots the bar slam into its limit and finally realizes it's completely full. With a grim scowl on his face, he starts shouting his special move, National H. His eyes blow wide. That strange pattern starts burning in his stare again, right as he's about to snap, but then he suddenly slams on the brakes because the search skill he'd been running just got yanked off course by something totally different, and it completely catches him by surprise. Jade slams on the brakes as the truth hits him hard. Realizes something is seriously wrong with the whole area. Then it all clicks. He explodes forward with a brutal heavy punch, blasting the monster backward while he digs in and holds his ground. With a strange glow burning in his eyes, he apologizes to his target. Then he snaps, "I can't waste more time," and slips away. He leaves the chaos and the dust, trudging alone across an empty, rocky wasteland. Right then, a hulking, disgusting beast, the failure of a divine dragon, materializes out of nowhere and looms over him. Jade is left speechless, staring in disbelief as he actually runs straight into a monster in a place like this. But then it hits him these aren't real people at all. Just clones forged from ancient dragon cells, which makes them full-on mutants, because the moment they were created their genes got scrambled beyond repair. And that's exactly why everyone labels them failures in the first place. But even though they're just lab experiments, turns out most of them are secretly. Jade can't shake the feeling that this isn't natural. Then she realizes it's the work of monsters with sharp brains, and they're getting who blessed the doomed divine dragon with a special divine aura so powerful that not even its mana can be measured. Every time someone fires off that search skill, the creature just pops up with *0 mana*, like it's hiding in plain sight. Moving on, their power levels were all over the map. Some of them are pure earthquake-level nightmares, while everyone else is way worse. The real problem is you don't truly know what you're up against until the fight finally erupts. Jade grins, because some of these wild facts are actually real. A continent collapse class of power-like. That's not just strong. That's outright terrifying. He plants his feet, refuses to back down, and unleashes a skill. Then boom, he unleashes the skill called 13 Orphans, and the golden light floods over him. And he grins as he declares, "As long as this aura is up, I'm basically untouchable." He dares the monster to come for him, and the dragon explodes forward with a savage lunge, threw everything it had at him. But that hit is so brutal it blasts Jade straight through a solid rock wall like the wall isn't even real. The dragon unleashes a terrifying roar through that strange mouth eye, then hammers its massive weight downright as the Jade doesn't budge, then slams out one hand, snatches that massive foot mid-stomp, and freezes the attack dead in its tracks. He slams his palm onto the monster's skin and snaps a glowing magic seal into existence that it tears into the creature with razor-sharp energy rings, then detonates in a violent blast of blood and dirt. Staring into the eye inside the dragon's throat, Jade finally clocks it. This dude is apparently. Turns out it's so weak you can drop it fast, especially after you watch its arm get obliterated. He locks eyes with the monster and goes, "I've got this, and I bet I won't even have to pop my secret trump card." So he shuts everything down, throws caution to the wind, and finishes the fight right here, right now. Then the dragon yanks its jaws wide open and starts gulping up a spiral of dark energy. Jade freezes mid-step because turns out the attack is called *abnormal breath and it's already gathering force, whipping up into a gigantic sphere of power. The dragon shrugs off Lucid's blast, and Jade doesn't even flinch because he knows a direct hit can't really hurt him. Then he realizes that burst of energy will still slam him back hard, and he just can't stop it. Look. After he stares at the countdown for his 13 Orphans skill, he realizes getting shoved back would only burn his precious remaining time. He decides to flip the script and thrusts his hand out like he's about to change everything. He snapped together a stack of geometric barriers like a weapon right out of thin air. The dragon's breath hammers the shields with full force, and the defense doesn't budge. Not as. Jade yells that one more shot is all he needs, hands locked steady despite the power crashing forward. The massive beam smashes into pieces around his little barrier. Yet he just stands there, perfectly unmoved, as the energy finally sputters out, and Jade just stands there in the middle of the smoke, untouched, unshaken, looking totally fine. He wastes zero time, winds up like a cannonball, and goes straight for a brutal counterattack. Then he lands one brutal hit on the dragon, wham, and launches it flying. He rockets straight up into the clouds like gravity can't touch him. Jade snapped into ready stance, clocking that even in his current powered-up state, a basic knife-hand strike can turn deadly in an instant. He blurts out his rapid-fire move like a command. He unleashed a relentless storm of attacks from his platform, blowing past everything in his path as the massive dragon gets mercilessly torn apart by the energy rings, getting ripped to shreds in midair. He nails the landing on a jagged rock, then glares out over the land as the dust finally starts to drift and settle. Catching his breath for a split second, Jade tells himself he barely pulled it off in time. He just stands there for a second, unshaken and oddly calm, like the wild brawl that just ended never even touched him. He tells them he only unleashed his change skill as a last-ditch move, because without it, he never would have made it. Turns out the monster's a failure, so the skill actually bites, working on it even when dragonkin are normally immune. But here's the catch: those skill points he earns for killing a failed divine dragon come with a catch. Because your damage gets hard-locked to a flat 2,000 no matter how strong you get, which basically makes farming here a total nightmare. Jade drops off the rocks, and even though the experience points feel awful, he's still thinking the money he'll score for the materials is honestly pretty solid. He stands over the giant dragon carcass, hits his storage command, and when nothing answers, he just freezes staring like it's all gone wrong. Jade taps his menu screen, and the moment he sees the monster's level, his heart sinks because it's way beyond his reach, so he vows to fix his power right now. He sinks a few points into upgrading the skill, and bam, an alert flashes. His storage is maxed out at +10. The colossal dragon yanks into the storage portal, and Jade knows the real fight can't be uncovered yet. Not for a... He turns and strides off, then scratches his head like it's driving him crazy. Because if he ever showed Sylvia this, she'd never let him live it down. Then it hits him. Suddenly, he's remembering that insane rush. He bolted out in a rush, then instantly realized he still had to go back for that too. 3 days later, the tale rockets back into the city. Everything finally simmered down, and the calm is about to get shattered. Jade's just chilling. He took a breath, then quietly scanned his status screen, checking every inch of his progress. He spots his SB, staring him down like it's the next move. He's sitting on over 52,000, and he's thinking, with this much saved, I'm set. He's sitting in the perfect spot, like everything just lined up in his favor. Jade stares at his total and realizes he's sitting on over 100, and that takes him all the way to a whopping 40,000 skill points. He slumps on his bed, then decides, why not grab one more thing just to make sure he's fully covered? He taps his screen and boom, a notification flashes. He unlocked Technique Collapse, then maxed it out instantly to level 10. This skill fires up like a full-on shield, a defensive move that basically, then he just shuts down straight up, nullifies every single magic his opponent tries to throw at him. He starts planning ahead, realizing that if they're going to, chasing that divine arrow sword, yeah, this is them gearing up to pull off some serious trick. He was setting up a deadly attack, straight up planning to unleash the crescent blade. So this is how he stays one step ahead of them, every single time. While he's scrambling to get ready and sliding his cloak back on, Jade can't stop thinking, if he ever clashes with another person, he'll be able to. He can just punch in his skill codes and crack whatever he needs, even while the fight is still raging around him. He double-checks every piece of gear, making sure nothing's off, so the instant he needs it, he can trigger his peerless warrior state without missing a beat. Is already completely maxed out, and honestly, he feels like there's just no way he... Jade pumps himself up with a quick pep talk. He nods to himself and snaps into action. Okay, it's time to move. At the shop, Ramon slumps against the wall while Veld kicks back behind the counter, sipping his drink in total ease. He just stood there, waiting for the kid to finally show up. Then Velga admitted he was genuinely impressed, because he never expected Jade to actually come. He locks eyes with the kid and asks straight up if he's about to bail. This is the one shot he has, and it's now or never. He flinches for a split second, then straight up tells the guy, yeah, I'm definitely doing this. He pushes the conversation forward, grilling them on where this mock battle is about to go down so they can't. Velg finally lets it begin, saying there's an arena just behind the shop, and Ramon jerks Jade into motion, telling her to follow them. Jade just smirks and says, yeah, I get it. Like he's somehow way more confident than any kid his age should ever be. As the three of them break into the woods, they stride along a winding path, racing toward the clearing hidden behind the building. As they keep walking, Ramon's nerves spike and he snaps, calling out to Velge to yank his attention. Voig stares at Jade with sharp doubt, sizing up the kid like, is this really who I've got to stake my sword on? He huffs a small sigh, trying to make sense of it all, but you can tell he's not buying it. He fumbles for the right words, trapped in his own feelings, while Jade just calmly stares at him, steady as ever, like she's already watched this exact moment unfold 100 times. Void brings up the divine arrow incident, and you can tell he's still totally baffled about how she even managed to drop a monster like that. While his mind keeps racing as they head down the road, Veld slices through the noise, locks eyes with Void, and tells him point-blank with a dead serious stare, "Win this mock battle, without breaking a sweat." He doubles down, swearing those B-rank adventure skills are exactly what'll carry the day, while Jade just stands there, horrified that he can hear every single word they're saying, and they're not even bothering to whisper. Everyone knows the rookie job is a little weird, unlike other classes. Your body size as a novice, he can build an appearance, but it doesn't actually change a thing. No matter how many skill points someone dumps into their stats, Jade just keeps slipping through the trees looking exactly like any other kid. He finally gets it, because he looks so painfully average, Void can't read his real power level at all, since his true strength is hiding behind a plain, everyday face. Jade keeps her eyes locked on Void's back. As they press deeper into the woods, he clocks the truth. Yeah, the guy's supposed to be a B-rank adventurer, but his official status is hiding a nasty catch. Turns out the guild stamps him with an official E rank right down to the exact spot he's aiming for. Right up there with Jade, the other 3-star slayer. Jade can't stop thinking about how the ranking system is way more deceiving than people realize. 2 people can share the same rank, yet the gap in their total is still massive, and it tells a totally different story. A rookie brand new and the air inking is about to smash into something huge. Trying to guess how strong an opponent really is just by their rank is basically impossible, especially when Jade is sitting on that E-rank card. They listed him way too low despite the power he actually had. But ever since the guild slid that beer into his hands, beer rank evaluation, he's not been slacking at all. He's been grinding hard, and now he's way stronger than he was before. On top of that, he's backed by the peerless strategist skill, and it gives him a brutal edge in every fight no matter what comes next. Staring at the mountains up ahead, he's dead sure there's absolutely no way he's going to lose. The squad finally screeches up to a gigantic stone arena, and when the gates come into view, Veld slams on the brakes and tells them, "We're here." Void cranes his neck at those towering walls, and he blurts out that the whole place is magnificent, while Jade just drinks in the view in silence. Right as they step inside, Veld blurts out that this arena is a real family heirloom handed down through his relatives for generations. He keeps jabbering the whole way, bragging that he even lets the knights use the place for their tournaments whenever they need a top-notch venue. He halts, thrusts the gear into their hands, and tells Jade and Void they'll be squaring off with wooden swords in today's mock battle. Jade snatches the wooden sword and then freezes, shocked at just how long that blade really is. Void scoffs at him, calls him a brat, and demands he pay up. To pay attention. He's about to show off big time. So he rockets into the sky, screams the name of his special move, Crescent Moonblade, and slashes through the air as he swings. Veld can't help it, he's totally blown away, shouting as he watches the power light up the scene. As Void nails the flashy move flawlessly, he slams the final hit right in front of Jade to finish his whole demonstration. With a smug grin, Void tells Jade that after seeing that move, she'll finally get what she's truly up against. He clamps his sword tight and tells the kid, straight up, that he didn't climb the ranks by doing nothing. Then he leans in and demands Jade honestly if he's really cool with getting that badly hurt by a hit like that. He jabs his sword forward and tells Jade to take one last step, back right, now before this turns into real bloodshed. But Jade just stands there, frozen in pure shock, because turns out his so-called ultimate move was way weaker than he'd ever dreamed. Jade stares at the guy and realizes that move was so pathetic it might just be a total fraud who sneaks in on real parties, then fakes his rank to ride for free. Void spots him staying silent and snaps, asking if he's so scared. Fear hit so hard he couldn't even get words out. Jade is frantically crunching numbers in his head. He knows exactly how weak Void is, because once it's anything beyond a beginner's job, one skill alone gives the whole truth away. The power to spot the real worth of things, like physical reinforcement, by converting it into something that finally shows its true value. He twisted their stats into his personal point system. Because most normal adventurers don't level up with an actual skill point system, they wind up with some wildly messed up stats, and Jade breaks it down and compares it to his own build, then flexes that his physical reinforcement is sitting at a massive plus. Even though his sword skills still haven't leveled up, that's just the start of his story because this is about to get insane. Is a total mess of a stat spread and sheet. That's not just unlikely, it's impossible for any normal person to pull off. He crunches the numbers on Void's flashy move and finds it barely lands at a 5 or 6 in his system. Honestly, it's pretty damn pathetic, especially because a normal swordsman's physical reinforcement usually sits at about 5 times their skill level. So yeah, Void's real power lands at about 25 to 30, and that's way less terrifying than he thinks it is. Jade finally snaps, telling him, "Of course I'm going to fight." And as she mentions the link between him and his master, the whole vibe flips, leaving Void staring around, fully rattled. Void's patience snaps completely. He snaps at Jade, demanding if he's even hearing a single word he says. But Jade keeps that icy calm on his face and tells him point blank that he warned him. The runner spots that both opponents are set, then blasts start, because they're ready to go right now. So Void rockets in at full speed, shouting that he's sorry because for Jade, this is where the road ends. He whips his sword around and yells his massive finisher, the Crescent Moonblade, launching a colossal wave of energy straight ahead. Jade spots the attack before it even lands, smirks like dodging will be no problem. So he just reaches out his hand, and then unleashes a skill called Technique Collapse that shatters the attack into nothing. Void is totally stunned when his huge play just disappears like it never existed, and he can't even manage a single word. The guildmaster, stuck watching from the sidelines, is completely baffled, kept staring, praying the attack was a dud the entire time. Jade flicks her gaze back and tells him, straight up, that he's totally overreacting. Void freezes for a second, convinced this is a trap, before finally committing. He just has to go for it anyway, even when a massive cloud of dust erupts and blankets the ground. Suddenly, Jade appears right behind him, and he moves so fast that Void doesn't even catch it. Void's skin goes ice cold as he realizes Jade is already charging straight for the finish. Jade calmly leans in and tells him that this is the best outcome straight up. It's the proof. He owns that win. A wooden sword is pinned right to Void's neck. He can barely rasp a word as he fights to stop it. He slammed the brakes and screamed at the top of his lungs that the last hit didn't even count. He snaps and starts a full-on scene, completely worked up, demanding a rematch right now. Jade and Ramon just stand there, completely frozen, staring at the guy's bizarre outburst like they've lost the thread while Ramon locks eyes with him, baffled that he even has the guts to dare asking for more. Void is straight up losing its sweating buckets as he screams that he could have won a dozen different ways, but Jade just stands there stone calm, telling him the outcome won't change no matter how many times he tries to take another swing. He's totally in denial, waving the whole loss off like it was nothing but Jade getting absurdly lucky with some fluke trick. Void jabs a finger in the air and demands to know why Jade is so confident. But Jade just stares back with that empty look like Void locks onto a toddler, and that desperate look hits his eyes. Then he starts to. And he screams that they have to end this right now, then even offers to fork over the money for the sword himself if Jade can actually beat him one more time. Jade's eyes flare the second free gear gets mentioned, and he can't wrap his head around it. This guy is really shelling out his own money. He shrugs it off, sighs, and admits he has no choice but to accept. Then Void practically explodes with rage, ready to tear into the rematch. Velb's blacksmith bolts with laughter from the sidelines, barking that Void's got serious guts for running his mouth like that, especially because Jade's moves were so lightning fast that even a pro couldn't keep up with what happened in that last exchange. When everything finally hit like a punch, Void's still raging, shouting that walking away from a loss like that would wreck his honor as a fighter. But Jade just laughs at him, convinced it's hilarious that he still thinks he has a chance, like he truly thinks. He tried to rely on cheap tricks because he couldn't keep up with high-level movement. Void pumps his fist and vows that next time, he'll go all out from the very start. While Jade watched him walk off and realized, if he wants this over for good, he's got to bring way more flair, and fast. He weighs it for a heartbeat, then decides, yeah, he's got a plan, even if it's a little too wild for comfort. Jade snaps back and tells him, if you're really that unhappy with how the match turned out, then go on, show me your flashy moves. They'll let him keep going, as long as they promise they won't charge him if he somehow ends up wrecking the whole arena by accident. Void doesn't say a word. Sweat pours down his face like he's been caught, convinced. Because his special move only missed earlier thanks to some hidden skill, he decides to go straight for Jade's guard. He lunges in and fires his next attack at point-blank range, making sure it lands. Jade just stands there like a total pro, effortless and untouchable. The second the words "Peerless Warrior" light up, you can tell he's locked in ready to end this.